himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on, so Nuroff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here, but I just want to see how Alistair Haight deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed more and forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
get it.
Medeiros is going to get it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Good evening and welcome to the Premier Endurance Season 1 of the UK GT3 Series. I am James Parfitt. I'm going to be joined in the booth by the one and only Mr. Zach Sweeney, who's going to be alongside me this evening here as well. And as you can see there from the overhead shot, we are at the Catalunya circuit in Spain. The historic circuit, track length 4.68 kilometres in length. There is no chicane. That has pleased myself and Zach Sweeney here up in the booth. And we've got 18 drivers going to battle it out in this 2-hour endurance. They have got about 6 minutes left of qualifying here as well. And well, guys, it's going to be interesting. Let's bring Zach Sweeney into the booth and we can have a chat with Zach now about the series here as well. Zach, welcome in. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, and I'm really looking forward to kickstarting the Premier Endurance League. Again, endurance racing takes up quite a big chunk of my commentary, and it's got a special place in my heart because it's an entirely different dynamic of racing. You've really got to be quite mindful of everything that you do, and everything is taken up to an extreme. The concentration, the consistency, the attrition, the strategy, everything is just blown up, and I'm really looking forward to it because, of course, it's a new season, it's a new championship, and it's a fresh start. Of course, us in the commentary booth getting to enjoy this, but also the drivers out on track. Of course, they might have experiences with each other in other sort of aspects of motorsport, but in terms of this championship, it's a clean slate and fair game.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we've got Porsches, we've got Mercedes, we've got Ferraris, we've got our BMWs, we've got Lamborghinis. We don't have a Ford. Nobody ventured into the GT3 Ford. Well, yeah, that is fair enough. And at the moment, the man out in front is Patrick Thompson here in qualifying on a 1:41.95. Joshua Martinez is in third place. Then we've got Dimitrov in fourth, Barn in fifth, McClymont in sixth. Todd Weston is sitting in seventh place at the moment. Welcome in, Dan Peoples. Thank you so much. And Seal Designs here as well. The series is an interesting one, Zach. You know, a single driver, 2-hour endurance. It's not something generally you hear a lot of doing with people.
No. Again, 2 hours is not the longest race in the world, but when you're by yourself in a car, it feels like an eternity. Most 2-hour races involve some sort of a driver change in some capacity. There's one that I commentate on, and at the halfway point, you swap out drivers. They're only doing an hour each, but in a series like this, you are all by yourself. You don't have any teammates to rely on, which I suppose can be seen as both a good and a bad thing. The good side of it is you're in complete control. You're not necessarily putting your race in the hands of other drivers, but I suppose on the flip side of it, you can't maybe rely to be carried by your teammates, or, you know, there's a lot more stress is put onto you. You've got to do the driving. You're spending a lot of time sat in the car, going out there, worrying about all the different things. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, a little bit of a different one, as you say, not something we typically see in the world of sim racing, but definitely an interesting format indeed. And well, hopefully it should be a lot of fun because 2 hours, as I say, not the longest in the world, but it's long enough. It's got the dynamics of both sprint racing and endurance racing mixed into it. It's not too long, so much so that the gaps are going to be huge. We're still going to have close racing, hopefully, but it's also long enough that the attrition still counts, consistency reigns supreme, and pit strategies still have a say in things. I think 2 hours is quite a nice balance as well. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how things kick off here in Catalonia. And the great thing about it, as you touched on earlier, James, we don't have that clunky chicane at the end, which makes this track just that little bit better, especially in GT3 cars.
Yeah, we definitely do. We do have open setups, fuel limited to 65%, no tyre restrictions, fast repairs 1. The starts will be a rolling. The interesting thing as well, there is no BOP. No BOP here this evening either. So the safety car will be manually driven. Qualifying is open, and we will have a 5-minute warm-up after the qualifying before we go into the 120-minute race. The schedule itself, we have got Barcelona here today, as you can see on the schedule on your screen. Then we go on to Monza, then on to Road Atlanta, then on to Hockenheim, and then we round out the season at Suzuka. There is some great tracks on that schedule there as well. Zach, which one are you looking forward to the most?
That's a tough question. That is a really difficult question, because the first thing I said when I looked at that calendar was, that's a good one. I'm enjoying that. I'm going to enjoy that. Looking at them, we've got really historic circuits, as you say, Barcelona, Monza, Red Atlanta, Hockenheim, Suzuka. Quite a short season, which is fair enough. It's a good length and some really good picks, which makes it really hard. The one I'm most looking forward to, though, probably it might well be Hockenheim. And obviously we are going to be on the newer version of Hockenheim, which is to the absolute love of some, the absolute hatred of others. I love the new Hockenheim. I think especially through the Parabolica, going into the hairpin really opens the door for some very interesting racing. And some of the most memorable endurance racing commentary from myself has taken place at Hockenheim. So yeah, I'd say I'm looking forward to round 4 most of all.
Okay, well, me personally, I think Road Atlanta is going to be an absolute banger. I do love Road Atlanta. It's going to be an absolutely incredible race, I'm sure, here as well. The score system, well, that's an interesting one here, Zach, as well. I was looking back through it earlier on. They are running the IMSA score system. So, you know, there's points on the board for qualifying, there's points on the board for races, there's, you know, they've got a full shift of points here that they can really capitalise, and I think that's where it becomes important, qualifying and a feature race as well.
Yeah, again, you know, having that point for, points for qualifying and the race, it adds an extra sort of incentive to qualifying. It means that you do have to be good at both. A lot of people, which is fair enough, rely more on their race pace than they do their qualifying, but in a championship that should be quite close, you know, those points matter. So being good in qualifying as well as the race is, you know, a perfect blend of those ingredients that combine to make a really good endurance driver. Yes, the main focus is the race. That's where the main bulk of the points are scored. But it does mean that if you can get some good laps in over the course of the season, you've also got a couple of little extra bits of change that can add up. And again, we've seen before, James, championships, even sort of spanning in endurance races with longer races and things like that, a lot of battles along the way. Even those types of championships can be won or lost by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points at the end of it. Those points are going to matter. And while people at home have been like, oh, well, it's only 1 or 2 points, doesn't really matter. Trust me, they do. And these teams, at the end of the season, when we get to Suzuka, will be looking back and thinking, oh, do you know what? If I was a 10th quicker in qualifying at Catalonia, maybe I could have got myself an extra point. And those are going to be the moments, I think, later on in the season where some teams are going to be very grateful that they put in some good lap times and some maybe are not. So, yeah, an interesting points dynamic. But, of course, the main focus, make sure you finish running the race. It's a nice bonus in qualifying, but don't worry too much if you're not qualifying too well. Just go out there, be consistent, put some laps in, and bag some good points in the race.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the most important thing here. It's got to finish the race. The qualifying session has come to an end. We are just waiting for the last cars to finish off before we bring you up the grid for the first ever Premier Endurance League UK GT3 Series. 2 hours solo endurance. Places are still available as well, guys. If you want to just get into the race and have some fun, you can sign up as well. All links down in the description below. Get yourselves involved. Come into the Discord. Say you want to sign up, and then you can sign up. Now, you are able as well, if I'm on the understanding correctly, that you can sign up on a race per race basis. this. You don't have to sign up for the whole series. It is £20 for the 5-month series or £5 per individual event. So you can get yourselves involved. Even if you miss race 1 and you want to come and have a go, you can do so. So please get yourselves involved in this one as well, because it's going to be an absolute stellar season of racing. And we kick it off here at Catalunya. Right, here is the grid for race 1. We will bring it up once they finish the warm-up, and then we will show you the grid. Welcome in Matthew Tatler as well. Thank you so much for joining us for what plans to be an interesting evening of racing. I think, Zach, you know, I'm old, right? So, you know, any longer than 45 minutes in a car, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I've had enough now. I just want to put my slippers on and my blanket over my knees. You know, these guys have got to go 2 hours. 2 hours on their own in the car. How tough is that going to be?
Quite. Obviously, we talk about endurance racing and things, and yeah, sometimes you see drivers do 3-4 hour stints in a car, but you know that is tough in of itself. So 2 hours, yes, a little bit less than maybe what you could do, but it still takes a long time, especially when you've got all of that strain by yourself and you're carrying from qualifying straight into the race. You're dealing with consistency, you're dealing with strategy, you're dealing with trying to be on the pace. It's a long time to be sat down, for sure. I mean, there were some 20-minute races where I was just like, can I just be done by now? Like, there are times where you do get fed up in the car, especially, you know, it's virtual racing, but you are sat in a real office room, sim room, whatever it is that you are at. And if your windows are closed, if it's boiling hot outside, if the fan's not on and you're sat next to a PC for 2 hours, you're going to get hot, you're going to get sweaty, especially if you're in a leather seat or something like that. Your steering wheel force feedback is going to be nice and high. You're going to be feeling it in your shoulders. You know, not only from sort of a mental aspect, but also that physical aspect of the car as well. Going to be really interesting to see who's able to rise above to it, because again, they're small things and people will be saying, oh, well, who cares if it's 20 degrees outside? Just drive and it won't matter. But it's those small things that, again, will take a toll on a driver bit by bit. And yes, it might be at face value. It's not that big of a deal. Just drink some water and you'll be fine. But then you've got 20-degree heat. You've then got your fans not on. You're sat next to a boiling hot PC. Your force feedback's high. And quite quickly, it does become a very difficult environment to be in. And then you couple that, maybe, of course, right now, not thinking too much about the championship, but say a race win or a podium, and you're trying to deal with that mental stress as well. So many different things, just all accumulating into the driver's head. And you know, it really does have a big effect on people involved. And yeah, the sheer amount of driving time as well. To be consistent for a 2 hour stint, that's difficult. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see who's able to come out on top of it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, dude. I literally, the days when I did drive ESS on iRacing, it was literally, for that hour was, for me anyway, you know, I'm old, so it was horrendous. And now even worse, obviously, for me in the broadcast booth and, you know, the office I've set at home where I've got a door on it and, you know, you've got the fan running and I've got everything going on. I'm still sweating out completely, let alone trying to deal with driving at the same time. So for these guys, fair play to them. As I say, sign-ups are open. If you fancy having a go and you want to get yourselves involved, you can do down in the description below, okay? You can join the Discord and sign up here as well. So make sure you check it out, because it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an exciting season. It is a battle on who can survive and who can't survive and who can stay consistent. That's going to be the thing. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Keeping that concentration for the 2 hours. Keeping that mindset where you're chasing people down. You know, the worst thing that can happen here is you get out and you're in that no man's land that we talk about, and you just lose it for a minute and you can end up in the wall. And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, they've got to, even when if you're driving on your own there, Zach, they've got to kind of keep that concentration level. And that's not easy, because there are races I've done where I've gone off and thought about what I could do for shopping, or what I could be doing after this, or what have I got to do tomorrow for the company, or, you know, there's loads of things you can think of. So that concentration level is definitely definitely got to be high here. We are coming into the last 40 minutes of the brief 5-minute warm-up here. We were on board with Joshua Martinez from Axiom Racing here in the Audi, the only Audi in the field. What do we think on the no BOP here, Zach? There's no balance of performance. You know, it's whatever car you pick, whatever skill you've got, and however you drive it.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to be quite controversial, I think, with some of the drivers. I think iRacing themselves do a decent job with the balance of performance. I mean, recently we had the Porsche go from quite high up on the ranking to quite a mid car, in all fairness, and then we saw the likes of the Mercedes and the BMWs become quite quick. But I think as long as you're in a car that you're comfortable with, again, it'll change by track. Maybe Catalunya will favour the Porsche because, you know, front-mounted, flat six, really good centre of gravity, really good through the corners. It might favour that. Same with Suzuka. But at other tracks, maybe Monza will favour more high-speed stuff. We'll find out. But, well, today's, I suppose, a good chance for us to test it out.
Yeah, definitely. And here is the grid for the first race of the season. Patrick Thompson is out in front with Owen Coleman in second. Leif McClymont in third, Joshua Martinez in fourth, Julian Dimitrov in fifth, Jerome Ban in sixth, Tom Weston seventh, Marco Dolman in eighth, Carl Hudson ninth, Alexander Shipley in 10th, Aaron Beaver in 11th, and Jason Haddington down in 12th. Then you got Stuart Gibbons 13th, Roger Morton 14th, Vasil Ivanov in 15th, Playman Dimitrov in 16th, Darrell Russell 17th, and Scott Bartin in 18th place. So there we go. Right, the cars are coming on to the grid. We are going to be up and running very, very shortly. Rolling start, don't forget as well, these drivers are starting on the back end of turn 6. So be aware on that one here. They've got to cope with the rolling start. The rolling start alone is going to be difficult. They've got to get it right. Patrick Thompson has got to lead the field away, and he's got to do a stellar job in it as well. He's just got to keep control of the car here, Zach, and get away at that beginning, I think.
Yeah, see, rolling starts are fairly interesting because it puts all of the control naturally on that driver in front, and you can either get an amazing start or you can get a horrible one. And I know that's quite obvious. Cheers, Zach. Great insight that is. But it really does put a lot of pressure on that pole position driver because he can, you know, really time it well. What I like to do is, you know, give it some, back off a little bit, give it some, back off a bit, and then wait for second place to get a bit impatient, and then you go. Or you can just punch it too early, too late, and it's a long run towards turn number 1. So Thompson, he's got to be careful, but new season, new start, and a lot of pressure on all of these drivers' shoulders.
Yeah, here we go around the final corner as well. Dan Peoples, good luck to all the competitors. Dan, get yourself involved. Come on, do some driving. But we are going to be up and running. You can see them all nestling in now. Patrick Thompson is leaving it late. He is leaving it late. He has gone. He has gone now on that run down. You can see the cars all coming down. 18 of them going to wrestle into turn 1. They are 3 wide with Owen Coleman, Joshua Martinez and Leif McClymont all going 3 wide into turn 1. How is this one going to work? Well, we're going to find out, and whether or not they're all going to make it through. They don't all make it through, and Joshua Martinez there takes the position. Dimitrov and McClymont still fighting it out. Round turn 3 on that run down into Repsol, which is the right-hander of turn 4. And at the moment, Dimitrov's going to have the inside line here once more. McClymont in that 317 Lamborghini from the Axiom team. Bright green, we can't miss it here. Doing a stellar job. He's now going to have the inside line for turn 5. Is it going to be McClymont? Is it going to be Dimitrov? It is. McClymont's going to make it through. More importantly, though, Zach, everybody at the moment looks like they may have made it through cleanly, apart from Playman Dimitrov, who looked like he had a bit of an issue at the back end of the field there, and also Alexander Shipley, who is currently out on track but is already a lap down here. But Patrick Thompson, stellar job finding out with Owen Coleman.
Yeah, however, he is under a little bit of pressure as we run away in towards turn number 9. You can see the Dane under pressure from Coleman, who looks to try and go to the outside of the Porsche. Late on the brakes, of course, between the pair of them. We go the long way round here at Catalunya, and Thompson is still able to hang on to things out in front. So a great initial start, but equally good start from Owen Coleman there, applying the pressure, not allowing the Porsche to get away in the early stages. That could be vital as the race progresses.
Yeah, Coleman's got to tuck in. He's got to try and stay with Thompson. There is a massive, nearly only 3.7k I rating difference between Patrick Thompson and Owen Coleman, but it isn't about the I rating. It's about what you can do in the car. You can see them all trying to get the draft here. Coming down into turn one, the little turns here, you're going to go right. Here we go, in we go, then you're going to go left. Be careful of that off track on the inside. There's no incident limits. Oh, Coleman! 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 Puts the Merc in the wall. He's put the Merc in the wall. Oh. He got a big old tank slapper there, Zach, and he unfortunately just could not get it back.
He couldn't. Again, it's easy to do. You destabilize the car, especially through the high downforce, high demand of turn 3. And yeah, easy to snap the rear out, unfortunately, and a very poor way for him to kickstart this race. We'll take another look at it, of course. He's running his way through 1. That's where the problem lies. He's wide going into 2, compromises his line, runs wide going into 3, and then you could see there, he was a passenger. Really nothing he could do about that at all. Fortunately, they do have a fast repair. If he can get himself back to the pit lane, should be okay to continue. But again, he's got to get himself back out onto the racetrack, all the way around the track, into the pit lane. By then, he's probably lost at least 3/4 of a lap, maybe even more. And yeah, to start a season, not the way the Kiwi would have wanted to kick things off, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel, I suppose. Person that won't be complaining is Joshua Martinez, up 2 places. Axiom Racing, of course. Axiom's the absolutes in the universe, and the absolute thing for Joshua Martinez is that he's making moves in this race.
Yeah, he definitely has. He's trying to break the gap from Leaf in 3rd place as they come down the start-finish straight. You've got Dimitrov battling away with Barn once more. Tom Weston has lost. But he's actually, no, he hasn't, because obviously they've got near enough the same livery with Marco Dolman and Jason Haddington. I thought he lost a position to Haddington. He hasn't lost it. He's still closing him down. What about Stuart Gibbons? He's still fighting out in that Blade Designs Merc as well. He's still keeping it on track with the other Merc of Aaron Beaver, which is just in front of Roger Morton at the moment. Morton battling away as they go off now, and he's still trying to get in contact with the guys in front. I think that's going to be the interesting thing here as well. You can't afford to lose contact, can you? They're coming round turn 4 for Morton at the moment with Gibbons tucked up right behind him. He's got to stay in this line with Beaver, Haddington and Hudson. Otherwise he's going to be in deep trouble over this 2 hours, and he doesn't want to be losing too much time there, Zach, by dropping out of that draft.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even at a circuit like Catalonia, where maybe straight line speed isn't huge, still important, but isn't huge, it can still make a huge difference, especially when there's maybe a bit of fuel saving at play. Remember, these cars only have 65% fuel capacity, which does sort of add into the element of a little bit of fuel saving, lift and coast and things. Slipstream is going to be a huge helper in that. If you can sit in that slipstream, demand less of the engine, is side by side in the foreground. I think Aaron Beaver and Jason Haddington having a bit of a tease with each other going into turn number 10. Also on the exit here, Beaver trying to get the up and under, has the outside line going into 13, close to contact between the two of them, but Haddington has got it covered.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have to run down out of 12. Now they go round the right-hander, coming into the final corner here, turn 13. Are they going to be able to make it through? Is Haddington going to be able to hold on? It's Haddington, Beaver, Morton, Gibbons here on lap 4 of this 2-hour race. 1 hour 50 still on the clock, and now you can see Beaver's trying to make that move on Haddington in that Mercedes. Down into turn 1 we go. Beaver's going to have the inside. Can Haddington hang it out? Can he keep the inside line for the exit of 2? He can't, and now Haddington has lost that place to Beaver, and Beaver is through. Now for Haddington, though, Gibbons in the Merc. The Merc doesn't look too bad. Obviously we've seen it with Coleman where he's spun and put it in, went off track and tank slapped it and put it into the wall. But the Merc in general, I like the Merc. You know, I like the current concept of the Merc. You know, it's a good car, and if you can keep that rear end stable, you should do well.
Yeah, see, my original grievance with the Merc was that it was actually quite understeery. Obviously, I've not driven it for quite some time, so obviously the dynamics of it have adjusted ever so slightly, but I always quite liked it. It was the first GT car that I got when I got into iRacing. I then moved over into the Ferrari, but I like the Mercedes. It was a nice, safe, good option, and especially now it seems to be moving more and more towards being the meta, the go-to car alongside the BMW. So yeah, the Mercedes, Good choice. Obviously, again, driver preferences and things like that will definitely shift what you can do. Again, it's all good being in the quickest car, but can you get the potential out of the quickest car? If you can only get 60% out of the Mercedes, but say 95% out of a car like the Ferrari, I know which car I'm going to go in. There's no point going in the Mercedes just because it might be the quickest or it might be one of the most fun to drive. If you can't extract the potential out of it, it's all about suiting a car that's there for you. And another good thing about this being a solo championship, James, there are no compromises in setup. These cars are fine-tuned to how this driver wants them to be.
Exactly. Joshua Martinez in the Audi, Leif McClymont in the Lamborghini, that bright green Lamborghini that we can see on track. You can see the gap on the right-hand side at the moment is literally about half a second for Martinez, the man from the US, over McClymont here. He's got to try and get close. Dimitrov is also having a battle with Barn once more. The guy, Barn from the Netherlands in the BMW, fighting it out with Dimitrov. They're still battling further down as well. We've still got Beaver, Hannington and Gibbons scrapping it out with Hudson there as well. They've got down to Hudson with 6 tenths. But at the moment, Patrick Thompson in that Porsche, he is away. He is gone and pulled away quite happily at the moment.
Yeah, see, again, the Porsche for me has always been a really twitchy car. Quite rear end
happy,
slidey. Yeah, exactly. Because, as I say, it's a front-mounted flat six, so the engine essentially is on its side, which really helps lower the center of gravity. A lot of the weight is at the front of the car, which, again, will help with the rotation at the front, but also a lack of the weight at the rear will make it a lot more prone to sliding. Good news is, makes it nice and pointy. Bad news is, it's not overly great in a straight line, at least with the recent adjustments to the car on iRacing. Circuit like Catalonia, a lot of high speed, a lot of mid-speed corners. That Porsche is loving life at the moment, especially at the hands of the Dana Patrick Thompson, who just seems to be in a nice rhythm, really kicking things off quite well. And it all started, James, with that perfect start at the beginning of the race. Not losing the lead, he was able to then settle into this race at his own pace, build up that confidence, and now he's in a rhythm that hopefully for him won't be broken.
Yeah, looks like Darrell Russell may have had an issue. We'll have a look back at the moment as Gibbons and Hannington are going side by side through turn one. BMW on the left, Merck on the right. Gibbons does make it through. Hannington, unfortunately, is going more backwards than he is going forwards. And Gibbons does make it through over Jason Hannington, and away he goes. What's happened to Darrell Russell here? And let's have a look and see what the man from the United Kingdom has done. He slid that Ferrari up and unfortunately has tapped the wall. So can he get it back to the grid? Can he get can he get his fast repair? Well, time is going to tell. Back up front, Joshua Martinez with McClymont fighting it out here as well for the second and third spot on the podium. Oh, you can see that Ferrari. Did you see that Ferrari of Russell? Look at that. Russell is crabbing more than the crabs on the beach of Weymouth. Get it out the way! Oh! No!
Oh, we've all been there.
Look at that! Poor old Russell. He's got a bent up car. His car wants to go one way, his front wants to go the other, and his back is just going wherever he can get it going. But at the moment, for Russell, he's trying to nurse that car back. And that, I've got to be honest, is one smashed up Ferrari.
That's not how it rocked up off the showroom floor. That is absolutely for certain. Ferrari don't usually like people dinging up their cars. I'm sure he might get a cease and desist order from Ferrari maybe very soon. Yeah, that needs a wheel alignment very, very quickly. But we've all been there. We've all smashed up the car. I remember my first ever endurance race was a Le Mans 6-hour. Smashed the car on lap 1. Had to drive a lap of the Circuit de la Sarthe with my right hand at 90 degrees relative to my left. And it wasn't a lot of fun, let's put it that way. It takes a lot of skill to be able to nurse it home like that and keep it out of the barrier and also keep it out of other cars as well, which does help. But yeah, essentially what's happened is he dinged the track rod ends, the little bits that push and pull on the tyre to make them toe in or toe out. Similar to the Mercedes dual action steering system, I suppose, that same dynamic. However, he's dinked them, bent them, pushed the tyres in to have excessive toe in or toe out, which means they're not pointing where he wants them to be pointing, and the chassis relative to the tyre alignment makes it look as though it's going sideways Tokyo drifting around the track, and is not a lot of fun to drive. That goes without saying, but He'll get back into the pit lane. He'll take his fast repair, albeit not the best situation for sure. He's lost time in the incident itself. He's lost time getting it back to the pit lane. He's lost time in a premature pit stop, but at least he doesn't have to spend 10 minutes doing some damage repair.
Yeah, definitely on that one. Welcome in, Ria. I'm here. Funny how I'm more busy sitting at my computer than I am at work. So there we go. Craig Jones is in as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Why is Morton or Haddington not winning? Unbelievable scenes. Well, Jason Haddington is in 11th. Roger Morton is in 12th. And they do have the ever-speedy Patrick Thompson, who is nearly just over 6K here as well, battling alongside all of these other drivers. So great job from all of these guys here once more, doing an absolutely stellar job. Strength of field is literally about 1.9k from everyone on track, but Thompson obviously with the 6k is the majority of that one. What about Beaver here in the Merc? Is he going to try and have a go at Hudson? He's caught him up in that Porsche, that Mercedes once again, that Soul Mercedes here as well, up the furthest up the field. He is obviously the winning Mercedes. You can see another one behind at the hands of Gibbons there as well, and one at the hands of Coleman, who we saw had a crash and has been in the pits for about 9.5 minutes. I'm wondering if that young man forgot to check his fast repair box, and that's probably why he's been in there for so long at the moment there, Zach, for Owen Coleman. Not a good run.
Been there, done that. That same 6 hours of Le Mans, we brought it in, tried to use our fast repair, didn't work. So that by the time we pulled out and we'd realised that we hadn't used our fast repair, we then had another 13.5 kilometres of absolute pain. Again, anyone that's done anything remotely endurance racing related would have experienced those things, but that's what experience teaches you. It's how to deal with these things and how not to make them happen again. Close battle here, Aaron Beaver versus Carl Hudson, the battle of the Americans in the fight for 8th place early on in this race. I still think a bit of acclimatization still happening for a lot of these drivers. Still a couple of them maybe settling into their own rhythm, and still with an hour and 46 minutes to go, plenty in the form of pit strategies and things to open up the doors for what could be a very exciting middle portion of this race. But as we said, what goes without saying is Patrick Thompson, he's loving life out in front. Again, I've only known him for the last half an hour, right? I've not seen him before, not seen him race before or anything like that. But I can already tell his worst enemy in this race is himself.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. You can see all the nations on the timing tower there as well. Holland, the UK, the US, Australia, Kiwis, Danes, and it's all full bore from everybody. So as I say, if you want to get yourself involved, you can do and come along and join the Premier Endurance. As I say, you can either join for the whole season, which is 20 quid, or you can pay for the races that you want to do, which is £5 per piece. Now, for me personally, £5 for 2 hours racing against some great drivers, I'm always down for that.
Plus quality.
Plus quality, yeah, I'm still in quality, plus you get the practice sessions, plus you get practice sessions all the way throughout the week as well. So, you know, there's a lot on board for that, and we get live stewarding here as well. So
all for less than a Big Mac.
All for, well, basically when I take my family out for a Big Mac, it is definitely more than 20 quid or a fiver, I'm not going to lie. So get yourselves involved, guys. Join in the Discord below. Come and have some fun. Drive in the 2-hour endurance. See how you get on. If you are like me, well, probably not recommended, because unless you can run to the toilet while you're having a pit stop, probably not. But there we go.
Your bladder weak, is it now, James? Getting old.
Hey, knock it off there, sir. But yes, that's not the point at the end of the day. You know what I mean? As you get older, there's certain things that don't last as long, and one of them is your drink intake, and unfortunately it just seems to go straight through you. Vasilij Ivanov has also had a moment, and so has Stuart Gibbons. That could explain why Gibbo is back behind Hannington again. What has he been up to here, Stuart? That back end's going to stick out. Yep. Round turn 5, the back end was going to come out the way. Haddington on the brakes, goes back past, and unfortunately for Gibbons there as well, bit of an issue. The Merc in this back end, Zach, it just doesn't like seeming to go in the right direction.
No. Yeah, it is becoming a common theme. How much of it is driver versus how much of it is car is one thing again. I'm not overly sure because it might just be one of those silly mistakes. It could just be coincidence. You know, we have to look at it as correlation versus causation in things like this. It might not be the Merc. It could just be a similar mistake from the drivers themselves, rather than and they just so happen to be a Mercedes. But yeah, the rear end stepping out ever so slightly is something that should be noted. But again, as a driver, if you know it's prone to spinning out, especially in an endurance race where you know consistency is going to be supreme. Why not go in a car maybe you're more comfortable with? Maybe something that is a little bit more tuned in for you. I suppose maybe they feel forced to go into the Mercedes if it is what could be the quickest car. However, there's not a single one of them inside the top 5. We have got 5 different manufacturers making up the top 5. Porsche, Audi, Lambo, Ferrari and BMW. So not one of them is a Mercedes. So they must think it's quite a comfortable car for them. So maybe just unfortunate mistakes, because again, we've all been there, we've all done that, and especially at Catalunya, it will spit you out. It's not the most difficult circuit in the world, but if you let it, it will bite you.
Yeah, it doesn't always for me. It doesn't always do it for me, and that's not anything bad about it. I'm sure it's a wonderful circuit, and I'm sure at the end of the day people are going to love it. But I just don't, and I think it's because we've watched races here before where you don't always see great racing. You know, we've got great racing happening down here with Dimitrov, Ivanov and Morton. Morton's kind of sandwiched here, unfortunately, as well, in that results-clothing Lamborghini. As you can see, Ivanov is going to make the move into turn 1. He's going to go through on the inside. Job done for Ivanov, and now he's going to go after Dimitrov here as well. And I think that's the thing with Catalunya. There are times when you can sit back and you can watch some really bad racing. Sometimes at Catalunya it can be really boring. I've done broadcasts before where I could just sit there and literally hands up and say, look, nothing's happening. But then we watch TCRs here, Zach, and that's a different story altogether, because they can put on some great racing.
Yeah, it's circuit dependent. As looking to the inside there, Vasil Ivanov looking to search for a gap relative to the Bulgarian of Playman Dimitrov just ahead of him. You can see the Ferrari looking to the inside going into the uphill chicane. Not the wisest thing to do, and I would definitely recommend against it, especially when you've got the screaming V10 of the Lamborghini behind you. could we have a 3-wide moment into turn 9 potentially? So Ivanov looking to the inside of Dimitrov does exactly that. The BMW sent wide as well could well invite the Lamborghini through as well. And well, Morton getting himself involved. He's now side by side with the Bulgarian into the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. The Lamborghini on the outside, the BMW has the inside, and well, they still run their way too wide as they run their way into the final sector of the circuit. Who's going to be the one that takes the position sideways? Morton, has he managed to hold on to it? I don't think so.
No, I think he ended up on the grass there, unfortunately for Roger Morton. He didn't quite catch it soon enough and has backed out and is now on the grass. So Roger Morton there, unfortunately, having a moment, and this is what happened. He tried to go through the back end of that Lambo, looking a bit squirrely already, and he comes into the next one. Onto the brakes he goes, and around for Roger Morton. Not an ideal scenario for Morton, but I'm sure he's be back up and running. McClymont and Martinez, these guys have not left each other alone for the last 20 minutes, and they might not leave it alone for the rest of the 2 hours.
Let's hope so. I'd love to have a good little fight here for second, especially between two phenomenal drivers. Again, especially for a very high caliber position. Inside line for the Lamborghini, though. He's late on the brakes, and the Audi doesn't really put up too much of a fight to it. He's very late on the brakes. Is the Aussie of McClymont, and he's still able to make the apex. A three-way fight between McClymont, Martinez, and Dimitrov. Of course, that's Julian, not Playman. But, again, two Dimitrovs, and one of them up in the fight for the podium positions. 3 cars, all in contention, 3 different chassis as well, which is exactly what we like to see. And from 3 different countries, which is even better. Triple whammy in this fight, but we've still got a long way to go, James. We're only 21 minutes of the way through. Will it continue? Will it fizzle out? Well, only time will tell.
Well, let's hope it doesn't fizzle out here. Otherwise, it's going to be quite interesting to see how it all pans out. They've got to try and stay with each other. You've got to kind of keep with the person in front there, Zach. They've got to manage at least to try and do that. the worst thing you're going to end up having is driving around on your own. One man that isn't is Beaver and Hudson. They are side by side on the exit of turn 3. It looks like Beaver's just made that inside line work. He's got up the inside of that Porsche. He is that leading Merc, of course, here, and he's just done an absolutely stellar job and taken that lead, taking that position away. He's now up 3 in 8th here, but McClellan and Martinez still battling out. Audi versus Lamborghini.
Yeah, brilliant battling, of course. I believe the Audi is a V10, so we've got the battle of the V10s. I do love the Lamborghini noise. If anyone hasn't been to see like a British GT race or a GT race in general, you haven't heard the Lamborghini Huracan, you're missing out on something, mate. Oh my word, it screams and it is beautiful. It is nicely reflected into iRacing as well, that rear-mounted V10. It's exactly what I think. It's naturally aspirated as well, so there's no turbos or superchargers getting in the way. It's just raw passion from the Italian chassis. Lamborghini, of course, started out as tractors, and now they make that absolute purebred racing machine at the hands of Leith McClellan as well. It's turning itself into quite a formidable force in this race, also up into second place, making some good moves, and well, here we go into what will eventually be the first half of the first hour. Still plenty of action still to call upon, because we've gotten our way through the first stage of this race. Now, James, everyone should be settled in quite nicely. Now it's crunch time. Now you start thinking about your strategy, where you should be, how to best position your car. You start thinking about the long game, and you start realising what can happen.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things as well. They're now getting to that point, aren't they, where they're 25 minutes in. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? How far are you looking ahead? How much do you want to put in? What's your fuel strategy? What's everything else here as well? And now it's just full on nestling in. Welcome back, Phil, here as well. Phil has managed to join us here once more and as well. So
He's back.
Well done, Phil is back. Yeah, shrinks your bladder, says Rhea. Is that your 40? Is that's 45th birthday? It is. Yeah. Thank you very much for that one. Zach Sweeney, midlife crisis on the toilet. How rude.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. As well. Oh, I'd like to point out, Kelsey Gill gave you a bit of grief earlier on as well. Saying,
Hang on.
just to point it out. No, I was with Kelsey earlier, and he was talking about your that he's written a book. And he said he had to make it a picture book for you because you couldn't read words properly.
Well, I'm from Norfolk, so it's fair enough.
Yeah.
I can't believe that from Kelsey Gill. I got him into JP Broadcasting. I thought I was in his good books, but no, clearly not. I mean, I've ripped into him a couple of times for a bit of banter on broadcast, but apart from that, I've been all right to him.
No, he said literally he had to make it a comic just to make sure that you were able to read
That's
it.
fair enough, because I'm 17. I can't read properly. I'm still a baby. I still need to...
Well, you know, you better crack it on here as well. As we can see, the Porsche of Hudson over the Beaver of the Mercedes. Still trying to come back at him here once more. 1 hour 35 remaining of this race. This opening round of the UK Series Premier Endurance League, live from Catalonia on the JPB Broadcasting Channel with myself, James Parfitt, and Zach Sweeney in the booth. Don't forget, if you're watching it on the Premier Endurance YouTube, subscribe, like, and turn on the bells, because there's a lot more racing to come later on as well. We do have the IGP Fun F3s coming up there as well. That's with Dean Biggles and Ewan O'Leary, so you can get yourselves involved and have a look at that. And don't forget, tomorrow night does kick off the new Clio season of the JPB Clio League. Starts tomorrow, so stay tuned for that one. Can Pete Newman win the pros again? Well, time will tell. Marco Dolman has got Tom Weston for company here, Zach, and Weston is very, very close to making that move past him in 7th place over that BMW. The Porsche at the hands of Weston, you know, still a good driver. I know Tom personally. He's probably in that car, fighting with that car as much as possible. Now, he did say to me that he set one of his targets of basically just making sure he completes the race. That's Weston's goal, because he put this season down to consistency. He put it down to the fact that he just wants to make sure he can finish. One man that has made it even harder for himself is even off into the wall once more, and that looks kind of like the same one we've seen multiple times here. That wall there is catching him out, and then of course then he goes round into turn 5 as well, and unfortunately for Ivanov is not having a good time here either, but Weston and Dolman still find out.
Yeah, frustration I'm sure from Ivanov. Again, easily done, easy mistakes to make, but from Weston, the philosophy to finish first you must finish, and it's all good being as quick as you like. You could well have the pace of Patrick Thompson out in front, but what good is that if you do a 1 minute 44 one lap, and then the next lap you're in the wall, and then you do a 1:44 the next lap, and then the next lap you're in the wall. You're not going to be getting very far. There's the send. Weston thinking about it into turn number 4, but yeah. But most importantly, again, it's a balance. You need both pace and consistency, but if you can nail it on the head, you're going to be very, very successful. And if I had to choose between the two, if it was an out-and-out one, I'd go for consistency, because you can't always score points on pace alone, but you can do it on consistency alone.
Yeah, you can definitely lose them if you put it into the wall, as we have seen from some of these drivers. Owen Coleman still in the pits. He's been in there for 23 minutes. So whatever issue Owen Coleman has had, he has had a big, big issue. So for Owen Coleman, he is unfortunately sitting in the pits. So yeah, for him, not ideal, but for Weston it is ideal. He's running in 7th place. They are just coming around turn 11. That Porsche versus the BMW. The BMW and the Ferrari, Zach, I would put into almost the safe hands of drivers who have just started into GT3. Oh, as I say that, there Dolman shoots it over the sausage gab. I find the BM and the Ferrari kind of that learner car. I'm not saying whack L plates on it, but do you get what I mean? It's like the beginning driving, isn't it?
I'd argue more the Ferrari than BMW. I mean, the BMW, not only is it quite user friendly, it's also a quick car as well. You often see, the likes of Team Redline and such using it in top level events. Obviously, BS Competition themselves, a factory team of BMW and things, use the BMW. Really, really successful teams in the car. But also, the Ferrari itself, it's just user-friendly. It's nice, it's stable, as Tom Weston is brave on the brakes once again into turn number 4. Still no way through on Dolman, who seems completely unfazed. But yeah, the Ferrari, it's stable, it's not going to spit you out. It's quite quick, it's a good all-round car, and if you're unsure, go in the Ferrari, because it's a good bet. It might not be the quickest, but it'll be up there. It'll be 2nd, 3rd, 4th quickest of the cars, and you can definitely bag a couple of good results if you're not sure how to take that step into GT3s.
Yeah, Stuart Gibbons here. What have you been up to as well? He's come on the run from 9. He goes into 10. And he just gets a little bit loose, out of control, unfortunately for Gibbons, and then puts it back into the pits. Weston and Dolman still fighting it out. He's still tucked up behind him. Is Weston going to be able to get him before this first set of pit stops? Or is he going to be fuel saving? Fuel saving is an option for Weston at this moment in time, because clearly he's showing more pace than Dolman.
Yeah. It's that balance, and it all comes down to walking a very specific golden mean. Tom Weston, he's quicker, so he has a choice here. He's not forced his hand, he's not pushing like crazy to stay on the back of Dolman. He can afford to lift and coast a little bit and save some fuel. How much has he slowed himself down? How much quicker could he go? And does that weigh up to the benefit of fuel saving? Because if he can get 10 seconds up the road, maybe it's better to do that than to fuel save. But if not, if maybe he's only going to get 2 or 3 seconds before the pit lane window, then absolutely fuel save, because you can potentially gain that, if not a little bit more, just from sitting behind playing the passive game and doing the hard work when you're not actually racing the driver ahead of you, doing it in the pit lane when all the time is relative to the other driver. However, looking at Tom Weston's driving into turn number 4 tells me that he might not be too interested in playing the passive game. He's already eyeing up the ways that he can find a way through on Dolman, and unsurprisingly, I think if he can nail the brakes on that Porsche, it's probably going to be into a heavy braking zone. Yeah,
I completely agree with you there as well, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out here between Dolman and Weston, whether or not it's going to happen, whether or not this is going to happen. Ivanov and Dimitrov still fighting out further down. Dimitrov has not made it through there as well. Roger Morton did make it over Dimitrov and is now taken away up the field here, and Ivanov is still fighting it out once more. So Ivanov and Dimitrov still scrapping here on track, Ferrari and BMW. If I gave you a choice, Zach, which GT3 would you pick up? Like, which one would, if I sat there and said to you, which one would you have? The Ferrari?
Ferrari, 100%. It's one of the best looking, it's one of the best sounding, and it's a Ferrari. Can't go wrong with a Ferrari. And as you say, it's quite user-friendly. I'm really bad at the game, so I quite like a car that's not going to chew me up and spit me out, which would be lovely. I just like the Ferrari. It's always the car that's been my go-to in GT3s. If that's wide from Dimitrov, Ivanov now gets the up and under, up the hill towards turn 9. Not a chance that he's going to be able to send the move there. But, yeah, give me the Ferrari.
No, I kind of somehow have to agree. The BMW...
Wow.
No, I do agree with you, and there's the reasons why, right? The BMW had, he's just unfortunately gone in very, very deep into turn 10, couldn't get the BMW stopped, and now Ivanov has gone through. Weston did manage to get past Dolman here as well, and this is how it happened for Tom Weston. Here we go on that run. He's down the start finish straight down into turn 1. Weston, is he going to make it through? Bounces the curb. Dolman goes in deep. Weston sneaks through the outside. Job done for Tom Weston. Moves himself up into 6th place. Ivanov is in the pits. The first one to blink in the pit lane at the moment is Vasil Ivanov here as well. We've obviously still got Owen Coleman, who's been in the pits for ages currently as well. But now for Weston, he's got to try and get onto the back of Ban. Matthew Tatler, Giga Ban, he says. So Jerome Ban here in the other BMW as well. Yeah, the BMW went through some changes, right? And when I drive quite heavy, I'm quite a heavy-footed driver. I can, put my foot down too early. And before in the BMW, I used to be able to drive it. And don't get me wrong, I ain't quick. I ain't no Patrick Thompson, but I held my own. But a few seasons back, it went through something and got changed. And I just found it terrible. I literally could not get to grips with it. It was Bambi on ice, it was sliding on me, it was everything that I didn't want in a car the BMW had. And that's why it changed over to the Merc, because I somehow got on with the Merc. I could point it and get it done and, and drive the thing. But for me, the BMW, it wasn't good at the time. Whatever changes it made or whether or not it's gone back, I don't know. But for me, I just couldn't cope with the BMW.
Sounds like a skill issue, to be honest. But to each their own, I guess. Just get better, mate. Easy peasy. But no, I do understand somewhat. But no, yeah, absolutely. Again, it's
absolutely ouch in the booth there. It's a skill issue. That's just rude.
I know it is. That's why I said it.
You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm referring to Rhea, who said great move over that Tom Weston move there as well. Stellar job from Tom, moving himself up. It could, to be honest, it probably could well be a skill issue. I don't doubt that in any shape or form. To be honest, my abilities behind the steering wheel, as people have seen in my TCR days and my MX-5 days, not so much. So there we go. Patrick Thompson still on the 143's 8 here, Zach. He's still quicker than McClymont, who's behind him. I think for Patrick Thompson, if he carries on driving the way he is, he could end up watching, just having a free pit stop and still coming out in front.
Well, you say that, but McClymont is matching what Thompson's doing. I mean, their best lap time, the Aussie's actually quicker. Their last lap time was only separated by half a tenth, which is really, really impressive from the two of them. It just goes to show the level of consistency that they've got. The problem is that while it's really good that they're nice and close in terms of pace, they're not nice and close in terms of the circuit. There's a 7-second differential, maybe with McClymont having to work his way through a little bit of a battle earlier on, gaining that pace that he did on Owen Coleman, obviously after a spin and being involved in that pack fight at the beginning. Maybe slew him down enough for Thompson to get away. So right now it is a bit of a stalemate. They're the same pace, so McClymont isn't closing in, but Thompson isn't getting away as such. They're just hovering, suspended at the same gap. But it does put the pressure on Thompson, because unless he kicks it up a notch, same for McClymont, I suppose, again, if he doesn't kick it up a notch, there is that pressure. And I'd say more so on Patrick Thompson, because he hasn't got himself into this free zone where he can afford to make mistakes. Yes, 6.5 seconds means that he doesn't really have to worry too much about actual physical, tangible pressure from McClymont, but he does have to be mindful of the fact that if anything goes wrong, that 6.5 seconds is going to come down very quickly, particularly like what could happen if he speeds in the pit lane or anything or other like that. Patrick Thompson, the Dane, is one of the first drivers into the pit lane. Diversity already. Clement goes on that later.
He does. Aaron Beaver tracing down Dolman as well. Weston's cleared up the road. He's about 3 seconds up at the moment. At least James doesn't drive into the pit wall. Well, that was Dan Peoples. So unfortunately for Dan Peoples there, you're digging it down. So yeah, Dan Peoples in a W12 who I've seen ceremoniously put it into the pit wall. Yeah, Hungary. No, Nürburgring I think it was. Was it Nürburgring? Yeah, Nürburgring. And I believe he put it into a wall. I don't actually believe it. I saw it with Biggles, so both of us saw it. Beaver does clear Dolman into turn one. He's going to do the same to Dolman. I think the Weston's going to do round the outside in that Mercedes. Dolman tries to come back. He's just got no response at the moment for Beaver. Beaver in that Merc, put his foot down, got the car gripping, and away he went. So Beaver moves it up into 5th place. Weston has gone into the pits as well here. So Weston has lost positions, but of course Dolman and Beaver have not pitted yet. Patrick Thompson, good news for him. He's come out in 8th place there. Zach didn't lose too many positions on his pits. I'm pretty sure he should still manage to get it back, I would have thought as well, because he's, you know, his pit lane time was about 51 seconds. He's about 35 back from the leader at the moment, which is McClymont. So, you know, he should be all right to retake the lead.
Yes. It just, again, depends what the long-term consequence of maybe coming in a lap earlier could be for Thompson. What it will mean is that McClymont, if he can maintain some good pace and still go that lap later, it will mean that when they get to their final pit stop, which will probably be, coming towards maybe half an hour or so left to go in the race, it will be slightly shorter for McClymont, because that knock-on effect means that at his next pit stop, when he comes in, he's got then less fuel to put back into the car to go the same distance, and then by the time he gets to that final stop, you know, it's then, oh sweet, you know, the people behind me have had to put, say, 40 minutes of fuel in. I've only had to put 35, and that 5-minute sort of window of fuel could be, you know, 3, 4, 5 litres, whatever it is, whatever it works out to be. I'm no pit strategist or anything, but it's still time saved for McClymont, especially if he continues on for yet another lap. Beaver and Hudson both into the pit lane also on this lap, but basically the bottom line is the longer McClymont goes, the shorter his final stop will be. Will it amount to 7 seconds though, is another question entirely. Is he going to be able to maintain that 7-second gap? Is that fuel saving going to cost him, or is he still driving at a decent pace? I mean, that last lap of 43.9, definitely not a bad lap at all if he is still fuel saving. So don't count out McClymont just yet. That diversity in the pit strategy, it's interesting, and it could have a bit of an effect later on.
Well, I'm a little bit worried here right now. 60% of fuel at Catalonia has taken us to about the 40-minute mark. Now, I can do maths, and I know that's a big shocker for people, but 40, 80, 120 here as well. Surely the people that can eliminate that final third stop could be
20
in
minutes stretch.
Yeah, but look, they're in at 40. There's going to be a lot of splash and dashes at the end here. 40, they're going to go in again in 40 minutes time. So they're going to go 40, 80, 120. And 120 is the race end. So there's definitely going to be some splash and dashes unless they can eliminate that final stop.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for McClymont, Martinez, Dimitrov, and also Bahn as well, they are, as you say, on sequence. They'll go basically, at different stages in the race, a third of the race as they come, and split the race into 3 sections. However, for Thompson, coming in a couple laps early does leave a little bit of a grey area. Either he saves it now, or he saves it in the final stint. That's if he wants to, avoid that splash and dash. Because you have to think, again, Catalunya not got the longest pit lane in the world, but when a race is only separated by 7 seconds, as Thompson does reclaim the race lead, the gap between himself and McClymont, about 12 seconds. But when it's only separated by 7 seconds or so, if Thompson does have to take a splash and dash at the end, that is going to be a huge differential relative to what the gap is to McClymont. However, Thompson may have the pace in order to outdrive that strategy. If he's able to put the laps in and get a gap that's big enough for him to accommodate a splash and dash, it's risky, but it could work. Again, there are plenty of different options for him to take. I suppose we'll get a better idea in about 40 minutes time when we start to see that second round of pit stops and really start to get a better idea of who's doing what.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the things that we're going to have to try and keep an eye on here, because I'm expecting them, I would have thought, to use this second stint as a mass fuel saving situation. If they can go 45 minutes, maybe even 50 at times, they might be in a great position. They've just got to be able to try, I think they've got to try and eliminate that third stop, and I don't know how, because I've never been good at fuel saving, you know what I mean? I try clutching in and it all just goes a little bit wrong, or I try something miraculous where I'm lifting and coasting and I could end up just completely going in the wrong place. I don't know how, but I think the person that can fuel save the most here, Zach, could be the person that wins this. Because if Thompson, as we say, he went in on about 38 minutes, right? That was on lap 21. McClelmont went on 23, so 2 laps later, which if you work out the time, roughly gives them about 3.5, maybe 3.7 minutes of fuel extra. McClelmont now has got to think, can I fuel save and get to the end? Or can I not, and I've got to splash and dash? 2 ways now. You either undercut and try and get into near the front with Thompson and try and Thompson and put him under pressure coming into that third and final stop, which we think they've got to take, or you look at try and lift and coast it and try and save some fuel, because I don't think you've got the option of both strategies at the same time. I think it's going to have to be go full flat, run it out until it ends, or lift and coast and try and get rid of the third one. But I think whoever gets rid of the third one here, Zach, could be the winner of this race.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. That goes without saying. Again, you slightly touched on it. Whichever one you choose, don't change. Stick with it, because you're going to lose a lot more time by changing. If you fuel safe for the first stint, then you get to the first stint and you think, oh, might just, rag the car out a little bit, and then you think, maybe not actually, I'll fuel save again. You're not going to be anywhere. You are not going to finish anywhere. If you've said at the start of this race, I'm fuel saving, I'm eliminating a splash and dash, do that. If you're thinking, I'm going to rag this car off the limiter, burn as much fuel as I can, but drive really quickly, do that. Trust your gut instincts, because as soon as you lack confidence, as soon as you start to doubt yourself, those minds start to play in your head, and you start to maybe lack confidence a little bit, make some more mistakes, not drive as quickly or efficiently as you could do. You start getting your morale down as you think, oh, have I actually made the right choice? Should I change? And then it's another thing on your mind. And then also the physical side of it, you're doing 2 completely different strategies. You're slowing yourself down, then you're speeding up again, and you can't really decide what you want to do, which is not going to help you in the long term. So pick a strategy, stick with it. There are many different ways to get to the same right answer. Sometimes it can just be done by driving quicker out on track. Sometimes it does rely on a clear, dominant track. He's got to be lifting and coasting, keeping the RPMs nice and low. Yeah, I'd say it's the right course of action. You can see he gets to about 7,500 RPM and then changes up a gear, limiting the revolutions of the engine, limiting the amount of fuel that goes into the engine, and saves a little bit there as well. Short shifting. It's small things, James, the tiniest of things that McClelmont is doing, but they'll add up over the course of the stint.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree. I think McClelmont here could be in a good position. He's literally completely lifted there. Roger Morton has just gone round. We've just seen him spin out of turn 7. He was on the side of the circuit as McClelmont went round here as well. You can see he's just doing it again. 7.5k. He's just flipping up, bringing it in, shifting down. He's doing it bit by bit. So for McClelmont, he could be in a great position here for that elimination of that final stop of this race. And I think it could well be a fight out between this man in the Porsche up front, Thompson and McClelmont. Thompson, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll sit on board with him for a minute or so and just see if he's kind of doing the same thing, and seeing if he's managing to save some fuel here, Zach, as well, because I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. Again, the fundamental of endurance racing is limit the amount of time you spend in the pit lane, because the pit lane is when you're going slow and when you're stationary. When you're out on track, you're going nice and quick. You're running the car through the gears, and you're driving on racing lines, and you're thrashing the car around, and you're going quickly. As soon as you're in the pit lane, you're going slow, and no one wants to be going slow, right? So endurances, yes, a lot of the deciding factors in the race are spent in the pit lane. Races are won and lost in the pit lane, but usually it's by minimizing the amount of time spent there, because as soon as you can do that, then you are in a good state of mind. Again, it comes back to what I've been saying, and I'll say it until I'm purple in the face. It's all about compromise. You could do the whole race on one tank if you cruised around at 5 miles an hour, right? That's limiting the amount of time you spend in pit lane, right? So surely that's the best way to do it. Obviously not. So that at some point there is a crossover between pace and pit stops, and you have to sort of get them right at the right threshold between how fast you can go and also how much time you're going to have to spend in pit lane. So at some point there is a line to be drawn, but again, sometimes it's a fuzzy line. Sometimes drivers like to maybe go for that splash and dash. Other times drivers like to save that 3.5 minutes worth of fuel. Good thing is they've got 2 hours to do it, so they can lift and coast. They can save a little bit in the first stint, top up again for their next stint, and then save a little bit more going into the final stint. It is doable, but it does take patience is the most important thing. I remember a couple of years ago watching a Super GT video on Gran Turismo Sport, and while it's vastly different to iRacing, he said one key thing that stood out to me, and it's something I've fallen back on quite often in commentary, is that it's so easy to get desperate and fall off your marks. Essentially was sort of the premise of the video. He was doing an alternate strategy to the rest, where he would go on a harder compound tyre, save some fuel in the first bit of the race, and then go quicker for the next. And it's so easy being in that state of mind where you are lifting and coasting, you are forcing yourself to drive slower, that you think, mate, what am I doing? I don't want to be doing this anymore. I want to get battling. I want to have some fun. I want to drive the car quickly. You can't let yourself do that. It has to be disciplined. You have to have patience, and you have to stick to it. Again, trust your gut, commit to the bit, and, well, I'm sure that's exactly what McClemment's doing, and good for him, to be fair. He's also maintaining a good bit of pace with it as well.
Dimitrov here doing catching up to the back of Martinez. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with McLaren. Is he going to be able to save enough to eliminate that final stop? That brief moment on board with Thompson there, it didn't look like Thompson was doing the same thing. He kind of looked like he was maxing it out and going full bore as well, because obviously it didn't look like he was in the fuel-saving strategy mode there, Zach. I'm wondering if Thompson's trying to open a big enough a gap to go in and come back out again.
Yes, that is probably his ideology of this race. Again, he's got the pace to do it. He's chipping away about 0.3 a lap over McClelmont. I'd say drive-through time around Catalunya is probably about 20 seconds at pit lane speed, maybe 15, 18, sort of in that vein, 15 to 20. Add in maybe a 5-second splash and dash, you're looking at a 25-second gap. In all fairness, he's not a million miles away from that, but we are already closing into halfway through this race. Time is not on his side, so if he does want that splash and dash, it's going to have to come quickly. And now we're getting into the two extremes. We've got McClelmont, who's going slow but saving. We've got then Thompson, who's going quick but being a little bit less conservative. At some point, I'm sure these two are going to, cross over. The good thing for Thompson is he's not holding anything back. So if he does find himself behind McClelmont, he can push the car and close the gap back up again, and McClelmont doesn't really have much to defend with because he's got to commit to saving the fuel. But also, Thompson is putting himself in a position where he could end up behind McClelmont as well. So, yes, for those maybe people new to endurance racing, you might be thinking, hang on, I'm going to switch this off. Look at how big the gaps are. 17.5 seconds. This is boring. I'd rather go watch F1. Don't. Because, yes, the gaps are big now, but the narrative can very quickly flip on its head at a drop of a pin.
Yeah, it definitely can. And to be honest, the Grand Prix is over. It was in Holland. The hometown driver won. That's all you need to know.
Spoilers.
Oh, it's not a spoiler. You know what I mean?
It's an absolute.
The kid is basically unstoppable at the moment. However, there was some dodgy tactics in there that poor old Checo Perez had to deal with as well. So I wouldn't have been too happy if I was Perez.
And full hats from James Parfitt. Oh wow.
Well, mate, there was. To be honest, if I was Perez in that race, I would have drove the car back into the pits, chucked the steering wheel at Horner, gave him a quick oof, and then told him, I've had enough, I'm out. Because it was a little bit unfair what they did during that race. So, yeah, if you haven't watched it, go and watch it back. But just be aware of what you'll see on that one as well. I don't know how Perez kept his cool, to be honest, because I would have been fuming. So, I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? It's a very different situation. Dimitrov slowly closing Martinez here. 44.1 for Dimitrov, 43.7. So he was slower that last lap there for Dimitrov. So he's got to try and get back into that rhythm of Martinez. You can see he's backwards and forwards in the lap times. So we'll see how this one pans out as we've got an hour and 8 minutes remaining.
Yes, so approaching half distance, and really getting a good picture of, you know, the drivers that these guys are. Again, you can't read too much into just an hour's worth of driving. You know, for us in the commentary booth, I mean, bar a couple that we've seen elsewhere in sim racing, you know, these are new drivers to us. It's a new setting, new environment for them maybe as well. This could be their first ever endurance league. Who knows? And we're trying to make this assumption and build this picture, but it's only a picture that we're going to be able to properly put together, only a puzzle piece that we're going to be finally completing when we get to that final round in a few months' time. Because then we've sort of seen through all the trial and tribulations of all these different drivers, what they can do, what their mentality's like, what their consistency and their pace is like. Thompson could be really quick in Spain, and then and then we go to round 2 and we're like, hang on a minute, maybe not so much. Maybe McClellan is the championship favourite. Who knows? There's not so much that we can read into at this stage. But it's looking good, it's looking promising, and so far I've been quite enjoying the opening half of this race, and I'm sure these guys are going to be quite happy that they've had so far quite a successful debut for the Endurance Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Peoples, James just hates Verstappen, Zach, that's all. I don't actually hate the kid, right? I think, you know, what he's done and what he's doing, you know, is fair game. He's in a quicker car, he's quickest on track, he's doing it all. I think the moment that changed for me was at Interlagos, where Perez got told to move over, and then Verstappen pulled that whole, you know, don't ever ask me again situation. That's when the respect went out the window. But, you know, lead car always has the choice of who's going to pit first. But miraculously, the team made the choice this time and didn't give it to the lead car, which at the time was Perez. So, yeah, Perez not happy.
But Red Bull, you know, they've got Max Verstappen leading the championship. They've got Perez 100 points behind. They've got a home race and a 9th consecutive win. I can sort of see why they might favour Verstappen in that regard. Again, it's still fair game. It's a race at the end of the day. It's not a contest of how many records you can break or whose home track it is. It is a case of, you know, you're there to do a job. If you are the lead driver, then fair enough. You maybe should get favourable strategy. I didn't watch the race in its entirety, so I can't necessarily comment as such, but I don't know. I can see why they'd favour Verstappen. I can also see why people would prefer they leave the talking out on track. But yeah, who knows? It's Red Bull Racing, it's Formula 1. There's always conspiracies thrown. Even 15 years later, like with Felipe Massa now throwing his dummies out as a pram with the 2008 championship. So it's Formula 1. There's always something to take with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, and Timo Glock moving over in Interlagos to allow Hamilton through.
Oh, wow.
So there we go. There was a lot that you could conspire from that one as well. It looks like Roger Morton and Darrell Russell have both had another moment there as well. We won't worry too much. I'm more worried about the fact that Dimitrov is dropping out slowly here as well. 144.1, he pulled out 5 thousandths of a second over Martinez. Can he get back into the groove and get back into them 144s or around that late 43s to really start pressurizing Martinez in that Audi? I think that's going to be the thing for Dimitrov here. He's got to try and keep I think one of the things, let's put it into this perspective, when you chase somebody down, you have to be seen to be trying to take time out of them. Now, swapping laps backwards and forwards is going to give Martinez that same confidence to think, well, actually, I can stay ahead here, you know, and he can still stay ahead of people on the circuit. So, and he can still stay ahead of Dimitrov. So maybe he's not under as much pressure as we're thinking. Maybe he's just basically maintaining the gap between him and Dimitrov here.
Yeah, could be. It could just be trying to keep him at an arm's length, making sure there's not too much in terms of pressure, but also a second gap. You're not invincible with a 1 second gap. There can be things that can very easily change. Dimitrov could, have a sudden burst of pace, but I can sort of understand and empathise with Martinez why he would want to just, do enough, right? Not over-deliver, not under-deliver, just enough. It's a nice balance. He's not overdriving the car so much so that he's having to drag it around and risk his race to build a gap, but also he's not driving too slowly that Dimitrov is actually putting him under a ton of pressure. However, I'd say a small mistake through turn 13 and 14 potentially for Martinez has brought Dimitrov back within half a second, which is prime slipstream range. Hopefully for him his Audi R8 has got enough speed on the straight lines. But yeah, it's always good just to keep them away and say, mate, you're there, I know you're there, but you're not really my problem at the minute, so I'm just going to deal with the racing at hand. However, I think Dimitrov has seen that second wind of pace as he's all over the back now for the fight for the podium.
Yeah, Dimitrov closed up the gap there as well. Martinez looked like he made a mistake coming through turn 13. That fast right-hander, he looked like he may have had to lift or brake a little bit to get that car around that corner. And that's allowed Dimitrov to get onto the back. This is where the situation for Dimitrov could use Martinez to fuel save as much as possible and try and help him move up through the grid. He wants to try and jump Martinez in the second bit of pit stops. Martinez again, though, unfortunately spread the gap. He's now back out. He's gained 4 temps. He's now 8 temps back out to over a second. Maybe Martinez just is waiting and managing because he's now back out to 1.1 over a very few corners of this racetrack, Zach. And I think at the end of the day for Martinez, he must be looking behind him and realizing what's going on. But he just seems to be managing it well in that Audi. I think, the man from Axiom Racing seems to be doing a great job here at just maintaining that gap over Dimitrov. Dimitrov's kind of like a bungee cord. He goes out, he comes back, he goes out, comes back, he goes out and comes back. But he never comes back and stays there. He always ends up going back out again. And unfortunately for Dimitrov, it looks like Martinez may have the pace on him this time as the gap's now 1.2.
Yeah, but you said it's a bungee cord. It ebbs and flows, it fluctuates. Dimitrov is going to be hoping that cord doesn't snap as he can, keep bobbing up and down with him and stay in contention. He's going to be hoping that it gets stretched back far enough that when you release it, it's like Angry Birds and he just goes flying past Martinez. That would be ideal for Dimitrov, but I'm sure Martinez would not like that at all. But yeah, it ebbs and flows, different pace on different laps, mistakes here and there, different targets and things, but it seems that the two of them are barely connected. But if it does stabilize at 1.2, it's not prime targeting range, it's not close enough to go for a late send, and it's not close enough really for slipstream. Maybe an inkling, maybe 0.5 of a kilometre an hour or something down the straight, but nothing major unless he finds a little bit more pace. But it is hard to follow consistently in a GT3 car. Not that it's dirty air or anything, more so that you stall behind the car in front. You have all that backwards momentum, you use that bungee cord, then you get nice and slack, and then it's like, now I've got no more to use, and then you back off a little bit because you use that backwards momentum, you get onto the back of them, they're slower than you are, you then are forced to go slower, then you drop back a little bit, then it stretches out again, then you ping off and you drive onto the back of them again. I think that's probably what we are going to see over the course of the next hour of this race, which we are now about halfway through. In 30 seconds time we will be halfway through the initial round here at Barcelona, but hopefully it should be still a consistent fight for the podium, because 1.5 seconds at an hour in, not a bad gap indeed.
No, I think considering there are some other gaps that are a lot larger, of course, 22 seconds from McClelmont to Thompson. Let's bring you a brief rundown. Thompson kind of got out in front at the start on the pace lap and has really never looked back. He opened up the gap. McClelmont gave him a little bit of pressure over the first few laps, and then he has just gone. He started pulling the gap and he has gone. For McClelmont, of course, he is up 1 position. He started in 3rd place. He's now in 2nd. We know, it looks like McClelmont is fuel saving, which we have said would should be the best possible thing to do, because they do, if they can get rid of that third stop, they will be in prime position. He's had a good run since Owen Coleman went out, of course. Owen Coleman is basically out, I believe, now as well. He is out. Stuart Gibbons we've also lost as well. For McClelmont, he's just got to do what he's doing and hope that he can fuel save enough. Martinez up one position, started in 4th as well, and in that Audi he's been doing a great job there. Had his pit stop, consistently come back, retain that 4th place. Dimitrov up 1 here in 4th, also doing a great job as well. Most of the people in the top 6 have gained 1 position due to the fact that Coleman has dropped out, and obviously was in 2nd at that moment he dropped out. Barn, another one. We haven't really seen much of the BMW here, and he's doing the stellar job as well, up 1. Aaron Beaver, one of actually the biggest gainer on track at the moment in that lead Mercedes. He's up 4 places and trying to get hold of Tom Weston, who's also up 1 place. So Weston up 1, Beaver up 4, and it could be a Beaver-Weston battle very, very shortly here, Zach.
I think so. Less than a second separate them, of course. And Aaron Beaver, fair play to him. Again, is in the Mercedes, which hasn't really been the favourable car today, but he's shown his prowess in battles and moving his way forward. He's done a really good job of battling, and well, now he gets to prove it once again in the fight for 6th place. Again, a little bit suspended in no man's land. They've got 15 seconds back to Domin. They've got 11 seconds up to Joran Barn. So maybe this is going to be a little bit of an isolated fight between the two of them, but still a fight's a fight, a battle's a battle, and well, entertainment is entertainment at the end of the day. Especially now as we're into the business half of the race, the positions start to matter a little bit more. At the early stage of the race, you could overtake someone. Half an hour later, they jump you back in the pit stops. But now, you know, we're closing in. We're walking out of the woods at this stage. We're walking towards the checkered flag, getting closer and closer to that end goal, which maybe could sort of motivate Weston to give it a little bit more, to defend a little bit harder, because, you know, it means that little bit more now than it did an hour ago. So I'm sure maybe we could see a little bit of fireworks, or he's going to move over and not put up too much of a fight. We'll wait and see sort of what the mentality for Weston is, especially seeing as his mentality for this race was to get to the end. So fighting is probably going to put him at risk of not doing that. But again, who knows? He's a racing driver. He wants to finish as high as he can, and he's always down to have a bit of fun. But we still have a pit stop to go. We've still got 56 minutes left to go. Plenty of action between now and then, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We have got Owen Coleman in YouTube chat as well. Yeah, I had a total brain fart and forgot what to do to not crash. Did you forget to put your fast repair? Did you not use it? Because you were in pits for like 50 minutes as well. So let us know what the fast repair situation was. Did you not put it on, or did you not want to use it, or what was the situation with that one? Because they do have one to use here, so if they do have an incident, they can at least use a fast repair. It looks like, unfortunately for Roger Morton, he has probably already used that fast repair, and we are now out. He is now, sorry, out of the race. Darrell Russell's having a bit of a bad one as well. He's had another incident. We won't focus too much on Darrell Russell here as well, because unfortunately I'm sure he's not going to want us to put a highlight reel together of the incidents that he's had this afternoon. But I'm sure he will come back as the season goes on and get stronger. For Beaver, he's now pressurising Weston into literally below a second. Weston seems to have responded and had a second wind here, Zach. Weston's opened up that gap again out to about 9 tenths. Yeah, Coleman, such a lazy crash. Yeah, it may have been, but did you not want to use your fast repair? Get back in the race. Would have been interesting to see how you got on climbing your way back through. You did have 2 hours, so, you know, still time. Weston's responded. He's put some fast laps on the board as well. 143.77 last time out, 144.14 to Aaron Beaver. So Weston kind of got a little bit of a hurry on.
He has. He's sort of, you know, he's been blowing smoke up his backside and said, you know what, mate, time to get a move on, because the pressure from Beaver, yeah, it is going to build and build and build, and well, it'll get to that point where Weston maybe can't take it anymore. Maybe Beaver finds his way past. So Weston's got to be more mindful. But again, it's that thing of not letting the pressure get to you too much, being confident in your own pace, being confident in your defence, because Weston now maybe looked in his rearview mirror, probably not physically looking over his shoulder, but metaphorically, all right, let me have some fun with this. He's going to be thinking, hang on, he's there, so now I need to drive quicker, and he's putting pressure on himself to drive quicker, which then puts the car more on its limit, puts himself more on the limit. He's now stressing out a little bit, and you can see where this is going, right?
Yeah,
it's now more pressure, more stress, and
I can see, but I also, as I say, from Weston's point of view, being that consistency was his key, is he going to really care if Beaver gets up to him? Is he going to really defend as hard as what we think he may do? You know, he's just, as I say, said to me earlier on, just want to get done, want to get finished. And that is what his main aim is here. As much as the thought of Tom sitting in his car, you know, the whole gift that you can see with the man sweating and everything else, I'll be very surprised if that is Tom Weston. I know he sits up in his loft, and I'm sure he's probably got, you know, fans running and everything else around him. But I would be very, very surprised if he basically did turn around and say, I'm off. I would be very surprised if he put up much of a fight. I'm sure he will fight, but I don't think he's going to see as hard as it would if it was for the lead. And I don't know if he would be putting that amount of pressure on himself to think, I've got to do this. He just wants to finish, Zach. He wants to finish. And I think when you're in that mindset, a lot more things come a lot easier for you. And you can see it now. He's opened up 1.7. He's just gone about his business, not pressurized himself. And now he's opened up a 1.7 gap there as well. Owen said, just forgot about it. Bit early in Oz to engage the brain. Yeah, I can imagine. It's like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or something. Ridiculous.
Commitment, but no thanks.
No, I wouldn't be doing that either. I'd be going to sleep, to be honest. Like, I love what I'm saying now. I can't really say that because I'm normally commentating at 4 in the morning some nights. So, you know, or I get up at 4 to commentate at 5. So... Yeah, I can't really say too much. Don't worry, mate. You're doing it with me next time.
Am I?
I don't know.
Are you sure?
No, probably not.
You're probably, don't be, because I won't be.
Yeah, probably hiding in bed. Darrell Russell here in that number 5 Ferrari. Here has had a bit of a terrible time. We saw that Ferrari, flat out just crubbing down here. He's managed to get it back. Unfortunately, it has taken a few more dinks and dents and a few more little incidents there as well. Vasil Ivanov has got Playman Dimitrov behind him. Dimitrov trying to close the gap down again, dropping down below that second mark, but Ivanov seems to be doing a good job. These two have been together as well at some points on the circuit. They seem to have spread a little bit, but not by much. So down to about 8 to 9 tenths, teetering on that second mark. So we'll see how this one pans out as well. Dimitrov in the BM, Ivanov in the Ferrari. Tom Weston and Aaron Beaver have had a crash. Tom Weston and Aaron Beaver. Oh, what did you do? What did you do? Oh, Weston. And here comes Beaver now. Oh.
Gosh.
Oh,
Weston's done a runner.
Yeah, well, he's going to, isn't he? He ain't going to hang about on that one around turn 11.
Yeah.
He's going to say, I'm off, but I can guarantee he's got to come in the pits, and he has done, and Beaver's in as well. So let's hope these guys still have their fast repairs remaining, because they've just lost that place to Marco Dolman from the SLM. And do you know what, right? That is a prime example of the Porsche doing Porsche things. Weston has probably done that corner the same way for the last 40 laps. He's probably just gone in, done the same thing, done it that one time, Porsche spat him out. And that is what we mean by the Porsche doing Porsche things, because that's exactly the situation we meant.
Yes, 100%. It's not my cup of tea of a car.
No.
That goes without saying. It's very twitchy on the brakes and very much is a driver's car, of which I am not a very good one. So maybe that's why. Fair play to Tom Weston for doing it. But it's a tricky car to handle, especially through, again, medium speed corners, like turn 13, is where it thrives, but it's also where it can be most prone to spitting you up because of that weight distribution. Of course, into the pit lane once again comes Thompson.
He's going to have to go early. He's gone early. Yeah. 49. He's going to have to do another one.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to say he's going to be coming in 12 minutes left to go at this rate.
Banner's just gone through on Thompson. He is 49 minutes. He didn't even get to the 40-minute mark. Wow. Thompson, he's going to have to do another one without a shadow of a doubt there. He pitted here as well for his second stop. He pitted on 21, and he's pitted again on lap 41 here. So for him, unfortunately, he only went 19 laps, Zach. 19 laps at 147. So you're looking at about 103 seconds. It's going to be very interesting to see what Thompson does here, but there is another pit stop coming from him, and to see where McClelmont goes in and what sort of gap he managed to get and how much fuel he saved.
Oh yeah. I'm not too confident now. But then again, the gap, what was it, about 23 seconds between them, give or take? Is that enough time for Thompson? I'm not sure. This race, see, he might still win it. He probably still has a good chance of winning it. He might be 60% the favourite, but McClemont's still got a chance. Especially if there's a mistake, especially if Thompson gets holed up behind Nero and Brown at the moment for the battle for fourth. Anything can happen. Thompson needs a perfect run now. And yes, he's driven well, and he's, given himself the best way to make the strategy work, but he needs to nail it. He cannot have any margin for error. No spins, no mistakes, no, whoops, that's a couple of seconds lost. Nah, he has to nail it, because if he needs an extra stop, if he needs to drive through the pit lane, and McClelmont finds his way past, Thompson's not going to have a lot of time to get his way back into the lead.
Well, on my maths, on 103 seconds on 19 laps, Thompson's going to be able to go about 32 and a half minutes. So, it will see, it's going to pan out to see what strategy this young man is on. How is he going to get to the end? I don't believe he can on 46 minutes of fuel. We think it's round about 40, and that's not going to help either. Clattering the car over the sausage curb there as well as they come out the exit of turn 7. For Thompson, he's now got a choice. Does he just go flat again? Would you just run it dry once more, Zach? Because clearly for Thompson, that's been his philosophy. I think he would have hoped to be able to get enough of a gap to almost take a free pit stop. And he didn't get that gap and is now behind McClelmont. At the moment, he's sitting there as well, 14 seconds behind. So he's just got to go flat out, isn't he? Mark Draper says flat out, balls to the wall. I would as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I said earlier, commit to the bit, right? If you're doing a strategy, stick with it. Thompson has been driving that car so undeniably quick for the last hour and 14 minutes. He's now just done it again with a fast lap of the race, a 42.449. He's got to commit to it. If he drives fast, maybe he'll have a chance. Again, you can't always outdrive a bad strategy, but he's a racing driver. His intuition tells him, drive fast, win race. Simple as, right? Surely. So I think that's what Thompson probably is going to be trying to do. Drive faster, build the gap, and hope that the strategy didn't mean too much. He might get away with it today. We'll see if it happens, if he's able to maybe get away with it in future rounds. Yeah, I do like the little bit of a split that we've got between McClelmont and of course, Patrick Thompson. But it's going to be close. I'm not overly confident. There was at one point where I thought Thompson was going to bag this one quite easily. I still think he will win. I just think it's going to be a little bit closer than we might think.
Well, if McClelmont's going to come in, he's got to, if you're looking at doubling what he did last time, it's going to be 46. out. But at the moment, Western and Beaver is side by side. Western does go through and takes that position away from Aaron Beaver. Of course, these guys were fighting out further up the grid. They had that coming together. One Western spun in turn 11. Beaver unfortunately come around the corner. Western was there. Western tried to move. Beaver didn't really have a lot of option. He was already on the inside line. But Beaver then jumped him in the pits. And now Western has just managed to catch back up and go past him again. So we're back in that same situation with Western and Beaver here. So, you know, depending on how this one pans out, whether or not that Porsche can keep that bottom end on the deck, that would be ideal. But then again, Beaver's in the murk, and we've seen them go round as well. So, you know, both of them have got slightly back ends. So we'll have to see what happens here with Beaver and Western. In regard to McClellan, if McClellan is doubling up, he should be in within the next couple of laps, Zach. I think that's going to be the thing for this young gentleman here in this Lambo. If he is just going to double the strategy, and if he can get this below 40 minutes, right, and I'm going to say this positively, if he can get this pit stop below 40, if he can get this run below 40 minutes and get it, say, with 35 minutes remaining or whatever, I know it's a bit of an ask, but if he can do that, he'll go out and win this.
Yes, I agree completely. I suppose this is the beauty of endurance racing, right? And it's exactly what we like to see. It's exactly the dynamic that we like to see. This not being too sure. And fair enough, yeah, the gaps are a little bit big, but right, it's still a race. It's a race against time. It's a race against yourselves in some regards, continuing, sort of considering how much can you push the car in the confines. And he's in, 43 to go. Oh.
He is going to have to lift and coast to try and gain that 2 minutes of fuel. I'm not going to lie. Martinez has gone in behind him. Dimitrov's gone in. Thompson's going to be coming through and retaking that lead. Bit of an issue for McClellan, the fact that Thompson's gone through and McClellan hasn't even stopped yet. So Thompson has gone through. Thompson has lapped pretty much everybody up to 9th place, which is Alex Shipley in another Porsche from the Axiom team as well. It's been a weird one with Shipley. We haven't really seen much of him, Zach. He's kind of just gone about his business, hasn't he? I haven't seen much from him. I haven't seen much typing up that Shipley's had an incident or this as well. But for Alexander Shipley, he's just doing what everybody else wants to do, kind of survive and finish the race at the end of the day.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, he's back to top 10 because of it, right? Happy days, surely.
He's in the same position where he was when he started. So he hasn't lost, he hasn't gained. He's just managed to maintain that position in 10th place. And I think for Shipley, he's just got to carry on and do what he's doing here as well. Not too sure why at that brief moment they were all going really slowly, or was that just my imagination? Am I missing something?
Is there a safety car being thrown out? Is Barton out on track? He is.
Oh!
There's a safety car.
What?
This is huge for Thompson.
Oh! Oh! Huntington in the wall, but what did Weston do after that? I thought my eyes were going for a minute. Oh no, not the same thing, surely. Oh, almost. Oh, and now we're under safety car conditions. Well, there you go. I thought my eyes were going for a minute. I was like, oh my God, am I seeing something here? But for Huntington and Weston, that's probably worked out well for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what an interesting time of events this is. Opens the door wide open because with 40 minutes to go, everyone's essentially taking their final stop. They're all fuel saving. I think it could be fair game to the end of this race. Do you not think? Yeah. Yeah, see, the problem with virtual safety cars is that in real life, if you need a marshal on track, you need to have the cars bunched up. In sim racing, you press escape and you go back to the pit lane. Job's a good one. So it is always sort of at the discretion of race control to say, that would bring out a safety car, but that one wouldn't. And it's quite subjective. It leaves a lot to be decided and a lot up for debate, which is sometimes the issue. But you can see that Patrick Thompson in 6th gear to save the fuel. Interesting, to say the least. Just trying to roll the car through on the wheels themselves rather than demanding a lot of the engine to propel the car forward. Interesting tactics, but effective ones. But yeah, I don't know. As I say, it leaves a lot to be for the eye of the beholder, I suppose. They're the ones with the power. They're the ones to decide. But yeah, it's a tricky one. I don't know. I've had some championships that have a random safety car. I've had some championships that throw them out after every incident. I've had some championships that never use them at all. I've had some championships that say if it happens between this zone of the track, that's when we throw out a safety car. But yeah, it's hard to call when it comes to safety cars and things. There's going to be some drivers that are really happy about this. There are some drivers that aren't going to be as happy about this, and that's the joy of sim racing, is that no one's happy. He's saving fuel under the safety car. Yeah.
Yes, I am. Apparently, I haven't touched anything, considering I'm not even near my desk, and apparently it muted my mic, which was wonderful.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, wonderful. So Tatler says top fives don't have to, but the leader will. But as you say, we are saving fuel under the safety car. But we are up and running, and the safety car's gone, and now we're racing, and McClelmont is under pressure from Martinez. Dimitrov trying to make their way through as well. He's back into 4th place. He's going to be looking at the inside. Martinez late on the brakes. Unfortunately for him, Weston was late as well. He just managed to make it in front of Barn there, did Tom Weston, but boy, oh boy, was he late. And Tom Weston now trying to get a hold of Dimitrov. Martinez, McClelmont and Johnson. Is this McClelmont's moment? Can he push more than Thompson? Because he's going to have more fuel on him. Can he now get that gap down, Zach? Because he's running more fuel now. He could just go and full lever, where Thompson might have to fuel save.
Yeah, I think we might have a roles reverse. I know I said stick with your strategy, but not when there's been a massive curveball that's been thrown. Yeah, Thompson, because he pit early and has been put back in the race lead because of the safety car, won't want to come back in because he's at threat of losing a lot more places because of it. Whereas McClelmont came in a little bit later, saved the same amount of fuel under the safety car. Now he's got a little bit more in the tank to use. And, I think these are going to be two drivers chucking it down for the final 35 minutes of this race.
Yeah, Martinez is not letting them get away as well. The good thing about the safety car, it's punched everybody up, even Aaron Beaver in that Merc with Carl Hudson. Dolman there as well. Barn, Weston, Dimitrov. Then we've got about a 1.3 second gap to Martinez, who's trying to hang on to McClellan, who's trying to hang on to Thompson. So it's battles all the way through, even down here with Jason Huntington. He is battling away with Dimitrov. Can he hold on to Dimitrov? Can Dolman keep this position? He's already lost these positions as well before. Can he now maintain it? He is up one, but that's purely because Coleman has not been completed the race and he dropped out earlier on. Aaron Beaver in this Mercedes. He's got Carl Hudson in the Porsche. He's going to try and send it out the inside of turn one. He's set up to send it. He's going to be late on the brakes. Hopefully he'll get seen. He didn't, and there was contact. There was contact from Hudson, but to be honest with you, Zach Beaver come a long way there.
He did. It was a bit of a send, but fair play to him. Also looking on the dash of Beaver, actually, if we can go back to cockpit cam, did I see fuel mode low? Or am I seeing things?
No, you probably did, but I think there's an error. That it does show that they are low, but he can't be low. He only pitted on lap 44, and that was only 4 laps ago. So you probably have, but it's probably a glitch in the matrix. And
Brilliant.
Unfortunately, it shows that he's low on fuel when he's actually not.
Cool. Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying. Awesome. Cheers for the Matrix for having a moment. Brilliant. Unless he did forget to fuel up, which again has happened, but I think he's fine. And
Are you saying that because you've done that?
No.
Lies. You took too long to respond. Fibs.
No.
Fibs.
Whatever.
Fibbing. Fibbing. Fibbing.
I haven't lied. Never. Absolutely not.
I bet you if I looked at your face about now, right, if I could actually see your face, you'll be smiling.
Nah. It's
True.
only booth for you. Sorry.
There is another broadcast going on right now, young Zachary, that you are welcome to go join, and I'll swap over.
Nah, it's fine.
Right, so Tom Weston find out with Jerome Byrne here. Byrne looking on the inside, I think, there as well. Weston can see him. Here comes the BMW. He's going to send it on him. Oh, they're going to knock side by side. Coming out, is Weston going to manage to hold on to the position? Is Barn going to get it upside? He's not at the moment, but in the background there as well, I believe that is Marco Dolman, who is also trying to get in here as well from the SLM over the Sim Racing Community team of Weston. Oh, Barn sent it. Literally, did he send it going round turn 4 there, Zach, or what? But Barn got the position away.
He did indeed. Brilliant stuff indeed from the Flying Dutchman, up now into 5th place, making some huge moves in this race. And what a way to send us off into the final half an hour of the first round of this amazing debut of this championship. It's been stellar, it's been action-packed, and well, the fight to the end between potentially the top 2 and also this, what is this, 5-car fight for 5th place. What more could we want for an opening round, James?
Yeah, exactly. It's been a very interesting round here as well. We've seen it all. We've seen frills, we've seen spills, we've seen crashes, we've seen slides, we've seen Coleman go and put it in the wall and forget to use his fast repair. We've seen Weston spin and then Beaver come round and hit him into the side. But this safety car, I think, saved a lot of people, I've got to be honest. And I think Weston now with Marco Dolman is going to be in contact with him. For Weston, though, I think his main battles with the Merc, with Beaver, I believe. I don't know if Dolman and Hudson are going to have the pace to keep Aaron Beaver back, but only time will tell on that one, Zach, as well. So it's going to be an interesting end here. 30 minutes to go. This could be a very exciting end to this race.
It could well be. Really looking forward to, again, not happy to see it end, but I'm looking forward to see the conclusion because it's all been boiling down. The last hour and a half of racing, the final half an hour to come, has been boiling down to this intense battle, and drivers, especially with the safety car restart, really throwing an extra bit of spice into the mix. We've got Tom Weston under a little bit of pressure from Marco Dolman. It's given a new life to some of these drivers that maybe gave up or said, this is the best I'm going to get, because now they've been given this lifeline, this second chance to say, nah, you know what, it's still on, still a couple more places in this, still a few more points to gain. And that's what I love about safety car restarts sometimes, is it rejuvenates some of the drivers and gives them that motivation to go and get those places. So hopefully we've got more battles in store.
Yeah, I'm sure we probably have. Beaver has closed on to the back of Hudson. I did say I think it's going to be a struggle for Hudson and Dolman to keep Beaver behind him. Beaver's now looking at coming up to the back of Hudson here as well. Down into turn 10 we go. The left-hander. Dolman's closed on to the back of Weston. Weston is the cork in the bottle at the moment. He is holding his position, and at the same time he's holding Marcus Dolman back. He is not allowing Dolman through. And now Dolman's got to decide whether or not he's going to have the pace in that BMW. We've got a Porsche, we've got a BMW, we've got a Mercedes, all fighting it out here. And it's Porsche, BM, Porsche, Mercedes. So let's see what the Porsches can do here over the other two classes. And I think these last 29 minutes are going to be action-packed here with these four cars who are still together. Patrick Thompson, 4.3 seconds is gone already here, Zach. If he's got fuel, great. He might get to the end, but if he hasn't, well, he's gonna end up struggling here.
Oh yeah. Either he's going to run out of fuel and stop on track, or he's going to be forced to make a pit stop. I know which one of the two is the lesser of two evils. However, both of them are still evils nonetheless. And so he's going to be hoping that he's got enough fuel in the tank to get to the end, and maybe a little bit of lifting coast, maybe a bit of short shifting to get him just some of the way there.
Ooh.
Unfortunately,
The Dolman there, sorry, apologies for cutting in, but he did have a big old slide in that BM, and that slowly gripped him back into Hudson. Beaver's still going at here. Hudson as well. Hudson's not only trying to go forward, he's also got to look back. Here once more, Weston's in the same position. He looked like he may have made a mistake, and that's allowed Dolman to close that gap up. Dolman in the BM. Oh, come on! Well, do you know the thing for me, right? I get sending it. I get that. But that far back and stopping the other person, taking his line and turning in, come on, there's got to be limits on racing, right? And I get Marco Dolman's enthusiasm. First round, he wants to go out, he wants to impress, he wants to get it on, he wants to move up the field. But stopping a driver taking a line because you've sent it there? And what would Weston done then if he turned in and hit him? There would have been a penalty.
Bosh, yeah. It's the style of driving that really is now becoming more synonymous in sim racing and racing and things. You take one glance at F1 esports, God forbid you go and look over there. It's dreadful, right? It's, I have the apex, therefore I can completely cut out any consideration for anyone around me. No, that's not racing, right? Fair enough, you've got the apex. You might have the favoured line through the corner. It might be your corner, but he's still there. He's still present. Just because you can't see him, it's not like Schrodinger's cat or anything like that. Just because you can't see him doesn't necessarily mean that he's not still there. We'll take another look at it, of course, just to really delve in deep and not go too quickly to assumptions. But he's already a car length back. He's gone for this end. He's not got it stopped. He's gone straight in way too hot, and it stopped Weston from turning in. And it is the style of racing that we're seeing in sim racing, which isn't a good one, which is apex, car, position, mine, right? And it's not what we want to see.
No, I get that you want to move up, right? And I understand that. But Beaver and Weston have been at this now for well over an hour and a bit. And they've been clean. Yes, obviously Weston spun. Beaver didn't have anywhere to go, right? That's the be-all and end-all of it. So that incident was an incident. Stopping a driver taking your line as well as sending it from, we could say these cars are probably 4 meters in length, maybe whatever it will be, and sending it that far in. I get the position, but if Weston had taken the corner like he was already trying to do, there would have been an incident. It would have been a crash, and probably he would have been on Weston for not leaving the gap to Dolman after he's just sent it from an absolute mile away. He didn't come by Royal Mail, mate. He come over on an aeroplane and come by FedEx. He come from that far back. There's got to be rules and situations on this. You've got to look at it and think, okay, well, that move was a little bit, you've stopped the driver taking your line. You've gained position because practically you've pushed him out of the way. You haven't passed cleanly. If you passed cleanly, there wouldn't have been any contact. But clearly, there was.
Yes.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And Matthew, I get what you're saying. Marco, usually a good guy. I fully appreciate he is, right? We're here to give our opinions, and that's what we're here to do. That, at the end of the day, is our job, and that's why we get hired to do this. At the end of the day, that move for me was not a clean overtake. It was not going out, pushing a car out the way. And if it was clean, there wouldn't have been contact in the first place. And at the end of the day, if Beaver and Weston can manage to do it for literally about an hour and a half they've been together, then there is no reason Dolman should have even thought about trying to make that move. He was so far back, ridiculously far back. You know,
It's not personal.
I know it's not personal. Are you talking to me telling them at home, or are you talking to me just to tell me?
I'm just saying in general, like when we give our opinions on things, we're not saying Dolman is such a bad driver and it's horrible. It's just we're giving our opinion, looking at that incident in isolation, and we're saying it wasn't a great move. Nothing against Dolman. He's driven a fantastic race. It's just in that moment wasn't the best of everything. We're not calling him a dirty driver. We're not saying he's a bad racer. We're just saying it was a silly move to make, mate.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have done it.
If he's clearly got the pace, he could have waited, right? And I fully appreciate that. He could have waited and he could have made the move on the straight. I'm not being rude. They were coming into turn 10. 3 corners later, he's got a straight that's probably longer than my high street. So he could have come through and, done it there, right? If you're quicker, it doesn't matter. But sending it like that on a driver that has had a majority of a clean race, bar one mistake, battling away with Aaron Beaver, who they've been at each other for the last probably about an hour and 30, if not maybe more. And at the end of the day, they've raced cleanly. And that's it. For me, that move was a send out of the middle of nowhere. So, it's just unbelievably crazy there as well. I think if we've got live stewarding, that's great, but please get on that and have a look and realise that wasn't the best overtake. McClelmont, however, is under deep pressure from Martinez, with Dimitrov not far back either. So these three could end up having a great battle at the end of this race. We did say McClelmont would think he's fuel saved, so it depends on what his fuel situation is here, and depending on where he goes on this third and final stop there, Zach, as well. So for McClelmont, it's all about whether or not he's going to allow Martinez through, knowing that he hasn't got to take that third one.
Yeah, that is, very true indeed. But not a lot of time left to go in this race. So if you are going to make any decisions, you've got to make them quick, and you've got to anchor down with what you think is going to be best. So if it is for McClelmont to battle away with Martinez, then by all means go and do that. If it's Martinez defending from Dimitrov, then by all means go and do that. But I'd say for Martinez and Dimitrov, their best bet is the tag team on McClelmont here. Because, right, if Dimitrov fights with Martinez, one of them is losing out on the podium. If they tag team against McClelmont, they double their podium spots that could potentially be there. So maybe they could both be on the podium if they work together. However, I'm seeing Axiom on the side of McClelmont. I'm seeing Axiom on the side of Martinez, which tells me that maybe they're not going to be too interested in allowing Dimitrov through, and maybe it's going to be them two trying to hang on to the podium places. To be fair to Thompson, though, he's nailed this sort of safety car era of the race, and yes, he's maybe got a little bit of fuel saving to do, but he's built himself enough of a gap that he's got a little bit of wiggle room here. So I'd say right now it's a fight for second.
Yeah, but he hasn't. That 12 seconds ain't enough. If he thinks about he's got to go and splash and dash, that isn't enough there as well. Welcome in, Alan Toon. Hello, my lovelies. The race looks very pretty. Thank you very much for that. Not a lot I can really say about that, Mr. Toon, to be honest, but thank you for your kind words. Beaver and Weston are still back at it. They're the same amount of gap as McClelmont is. Actually, Martinez has got a little bit closer, mind you. So now for McClelmont, it's now under pressure from Martinez. Round the final corner they go, down the start-finish straight. Once more here at Catalonia. We are entering in a minute's time, Zach Sweeney. We are into the final 20.
Yep, 20 to go. It's a sprint to the finish now, and well, we've got a sprint race between McClelmont and Martinez battling their way for second place. Hopefully, what a battle this is going to be. Again, the battle of the V10s. McClelmont versus Martinez. I think it's round 2 for this race. It's like 56 of, do the maths, however many is left in the race, probably in the 60s or something like that. Well, I'm going to go with 65. We'll go 65. Actually, no, 66. We'll go 67 laps, I'm going with, in the end. Depends what Thompson's going to do, because I'm a commentator and we don't do maths because we're lazy and that's boring. But anyway, however long's left to go in the race, 20 minutes left, 20 minutes and 15 seconds if you want to be pedantic, now 13. McClelmont has got a fight for second on his hands. He's got to be looking in his rearview mirrors, and Joshua Martinez is putting a lot of pressure on. The only concern here is, James, is that McClelmont is in Australia, Martinez is in America, and iRacing likes to do this beautiful thing called netcode, and I hope that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Dimitrov is somewhere, but he isn't where he should be. Oh!
Oh, and the curbs as well. He took off and everything. Ouch.
Ouch for Dimitrov there. Into the pits you go, young sir. I don't think you've got a choice at that one. And let's have a look on board of what actually happened to Yilian Dimitrov. Coming round the corner, he gets a little bit curb happy. Over he goes, up in the air, bang. Straight into the wall. Now the only good thing for Dimitrov here on lap 55 is, one, we don't need a red flag or an ambulance because we are all online, and two, he can go back to the pits if he hasn't used his fast repair. So let's see what Dimitrov done. And currently he went into the pits. He did stop there as well for not a lot. And Yilian Dimitrov is back out on the circuit with a completely new car looking all shiny and new. So I'm guessing he has used his fast repair. McClelmont trying to get rid of Martinez. Dolman now has got Weston coming back at him. Could this be a spicy fight here, Zach, as well, because of the previous contact?
Yeah. You hold grudges as a racing driver. You know who and who isn't your friend out on the racetrack. And you think, well... you know, you give what you're given out on track, and if someone does a bit of a mean move to you, you're inclined to do a bit of a mean move back. Obviously, within the limits of what you can get away with. It's always a little bit, you know, on the sly. When's the camera not looking? How can we get away with it, sort of thing. But you do naturally give him a little bit of a pushback. So hopefully Weston maybe isn't going to go for two wrongs, try to make a right, but I can understand that if he does go for a move, he's maybe going to give him a bit more of a squeeze, maybe move over half a car length more than he would if it was anyone else.
Why?
Because you give what you're given.
Exactly. Now, I said to somebody that two wrongs don't make a right. They turned around and went, why does it not? Surely if you've got a plus and a plus, you make a minus. And I was like, huh?
What?
Yeah. So I understand the thing that two wrongs don't make a right, and I get that sort of sense here as well. But for Weston, he's going to feel a little bit aggrieved here, Zach. He's going to feel like he deserves that place. And honestly, I think there should have been a swap of positions or time penalty added to Dolman. I don't know, you know, whatever the stewards feel like coming up with. But at the end of the day, there was definitely more of a situation. From Weston's point of view, he's not going to know the camera's not looking at him. In fact, if Weston's watched enough of the broadcast on JPP, that he'll know if he's battling with Dolman, he can guarantee I'm looking at him. The question is, where's Weston going to go and what is he going to do? Me personally, I'd probably send it and see what the situation is. If Dolman turns in and you know, crashes into him, then he's got a case to sit back and go, what was the difference down in turn 10?
Yeah, again, it's always consistency with the stewards, trying to make it as consistent as possible. So Weston will say, well, if you give me a penalty for doing that, give him a penalty for doing this, sort of thing. So, yeah, but again, it's a grey area. It's always down to the discretion of the stewards and those that deem it right. However, Weston might be looking in his rearview mirrors a little bit. That's a huge mistake from Dolman, though. It could be into turn 10. I'm not saying it will be, but it could be. Tom Weston has a really good opportunity here if he can put his foot to the floor. No, he can't, because Dolman is rapid in a straight line. That Porsche is not, unless Weston is ridiculously on the brakes, which he isn't. And, well, they run their way through turn 10 and there's no changes. But Dolman keeps making mistakes like that. Weston's going to eat that up.
Definitely, and if I was Weston, I'd be looking at parking it there as well. McClelmont and Martinez are literally nose to tail. The Axiom boys here for both McClelmont and Martinez from Axiom Racing. What is Martinez going to do? He's clearly quicker than McClelmont in this stage of the race. Would you make the move? Would you sit behind? Well, depending if there is team orders, depending if they are, I don't know, in the same voice chat, depending on what the situation is, would you turn around to McClelmont and say, yeah, come on, son. I need to move over. And just when we start talking about second pit stops, that man's in the pits. Tom Weston in the pits here as well, for which will be probably his final set of fuel. And I think it is, judging by the fact that he was only stopped for 9.5 seconds there. There's more to come on this. There is more to come on this race.
Yeah, 100%. Whether that's going to be Thompson coming back into the pit lane, whether it's anyone else having to make an extra stop, who knows what's to come. But yeah, we are very much in towards the tail end of this race. Just under 15 minutes left to go, and do they need to stop? Can they stay out? Can they get away with it? How much fuel saving is in it? Is there going to be a splash and dash? Is there going to be a fuel crisis at the end? I mean, fuel prices nowadays is ridiculous. I looked at my local Sainsbury's, it was $1.51 for a litre of petrol. I was like, no thanks. So I'm sure race fuel prices, they're going to be wanting to save it as much as they can, being as economic as they can, both on cost and also in terms of pit lane savings times as well. Patrick Thompson, though, he's just driving the wheels off that car. He's probably got cash to splash.
Virtual round of sim racing, and we're talking about fuel and fuel prices. Welcome to the JPB YouTube channel if you haven't been here before. Thanks so much for joining us as well. I'm James Parfitt. The fuel man is Zach Sweeney, who was moaning about 151. I never fully understand why supermarkets could charge 151 in one town. You go to the next one and it's only 137 or something. That bit.
137? Where?
I don't know. I'm just saying. It confuses me why they get away with obviously charging separate prices. So there we go. Beaver and Dolman have just swapped positions. Beaver's gone through on the inside. Dolman did give him room there and allow Beaver to make that swap. Now, McClelmont and Martinez, I'm wondering, being that they're in the same team, young Zachary here, are they going to be working together to try and maintain their fuel situation? Are they working together to try and eliminate that stop? Because at the moment, based off Western's stop, that pit lane time is still 35 seconds with a 9-second pit stop time. Could be an interesting one.
Yeah. See, it all depends on whether Thompson has to come in or not. I mean, if we're going off his normal stint without the safety car, he'd be coming in about now. But we had the safety car. How much fuel did he save in that period? Is his total pit time going to be 20.7 seconds? I don't know.
Well, stay tuned for the final 12 minutes here because it's going to be interesting. Tatler said Costco fuel 15p cheaper than anywhere. Apparently.
Nice. See, literally before I left for London on the 28th of July, my local Sainsbury's was £1.40, which is ridiculous in of itself, right? But it's what I'm used to as a new driver. As Martinez needs to go to the inside of Clement. This is the fight for second, late on the brakes for the Audi R8. Beautifully done. Has he managed to get it stopped though? He seems to be late on the brakes, but late enough and well nails it essentially. Martinez up in a second place.
I do love Alan too. My dad paid 5 shillings and 3p for a gallon in the 1960s. So apparently that's 27p.
That's when Freddos were 5p though.
No, that's 27p a gallon if we transferred it over to today's money. So there you go. And costs more to drive fuel farther. Some places pay less for delivery fees. I'm sure there's other factors. Yeah, they just like robbing everyone and punishing the people who live out in the country. But never mind. Not that I'm bitter at all because, you know, I live out in the country and I've got more sheep than human beings and I can't even get fibre optic. I have to go feed my guinea pig who runs on a wheel and powers my Wi-Fi. So there we go.
Just get your kids.
No,
get some exercise, get you free electricity. Simples, mate.
No, guinea pig runs quicker. So there we go. Alexander Shipley here is having a go over Dimitrov. This is a battle for 11th and 12th here. 11 minutes remaining. It's all down on whether or not Thompson has got to pit again. And to be honest, I think he may have to. But the question is whether or not he's going to have enough break in the gap to get out in front of McClelmont, who we believe may not have to. But at the moment, this little battle between Shitley. Ooh, one move, please, sir. One move. Multiple moves. We're not weaving a jumper here as well. Shitley there did kind of get a little bit put off by the double move of Playman Dimitrov in that BMW. Yeah, I do understand defending, but please only go once. That will make me a very happy boy. Thank you very much.
I'm sure when he did it, he was like, I can't do it because that'll upset James Parfitt.
I'm sure he
I
did.
can that was what was going through his head.
And he's probably never watched a broadcast of mine before in his life, and probably doesn't even know who I am.
James, who?
Exactly. To be honest. So there we go. Dimitrov now has lost that position to Shipley. Shipley comes around the final corner. Job done. He's going to go around turn 13. He's not going to enter into the pits, and Shipley gets it done. Tom Weston has now got Julian Dimitrov right up for company, and McClelmont has now got John Barn right behind him. So there we go. Do you need a younger guinea pig, James? No, mine's only about 12 months old, mate. He's all right. He's kicking. He's still going.
Why did you say 12 months? It's a year. Just say a year. Sorry.
But it's like when you ask the baby's age and they turn around and say he's 24 months. Oh, Barnes off. Barnes' battle has gone on lap 62. And unfortunately for Barn, right near the end, he's got to try and get it going again to try and survive and hang on to the position he's in. He's just lost a place to Beaver. Is he going to lose that place to Dolman as well? Well, only time will tell. But at the moment, Dolman didn't quite get him this time around. Tom Weston did lose the position to Dimitrov in the end. Dimitrov did get through on Weston. Weston's still inside the top 10, sitting in 9th for the moment, Zach.
Yeah, well, that is a shame, of course, for Barn in general. But he's able to continue on. I have to say, though, McClemont's fallen off a little bit in this late stage of the race. I don't know why. Maybe he went too quick in the early stages and has actually gotten himself off target in terms of fuel and has to save a little bit. He's still on course for a podium, especially after Barnes' spin. But, yeah. He's dropped off. Maybe his tyres have fallen off a little bit. It's a peculiar one, actually, for McClelmont, because at one point in this race, we tipped him to win, and now, a couple of minutes ago, the podium was under threat for McClelmont. So, it just goes to show that it can very easily tip the scales one way and then the next. Motorsport is a very fluid thing.
I fully agree, and unfortunately for McClelmont, it's might only just be a podium. Thompson's gap now 24 seconds. Is there still more pits to come? That's going to be the question. Weston went in and he pitted on lap 58. Now, the insight on that one would say that others have got to pit as well, considering he pitted with other cars around him. He's either badly done fuel saving, or he may have pulled out a master stroke if everybody's going to go in and start doing it as well.
Yeah. Well, pressure's on now. Martinez, we'll see if he's working his way to the pit lane or not. He is.
He's in the pits. Thompson is in the pits. Patrick Thompson in the pits there. Now
Martinez stays out. Same with McClelmont.
Yeah. So now it's going to be a race to the exit. It's going to be a race to the exit. Here is Martinez. There is Thompson. I think Thompson's got it overhand. He got the pit stop gap in there, Zach, and he's done it. He's gone and pitted and still managed to hold on. Martinez didn't get near him.
Bravo, Patrick Thompson, fair play. And also now, he's got enough fuel. He doesn't have to worry. I think Martinez and McClelmont still have an element of fuel saving in the mix. But if I was Joshua Martinez, I'd be, I don't care about my fuel level at the moment. The win is on, and obviously it depends what he wants out of this race. Does he want to contend for the championship? If he does, take second. If he doesn't, if he only cares about getting a single race win this season, I don't care about my fuel level at this point. I'm going flat out, and I am giving myself the best chance possible of going for the win. He's going to have to start now, though. Time is not on his side, and Joshua Martinez, 1.5 seconds. It's going to be tricky. I think Thompson, we doubted him, but he's actually nailed it.
Yeah, I think he has, to be honest, because I think that gap's going to increase very, very quickly. And that isn't any disrespect to the man who's 2.2k on Martinez. I think Thompson has been quick all day, and I think he's going to go through and take the victory. He did just open up enough gap to have a complete pit stop over the safety from when the safety car come out, and that was only on lap 46. So the safety car come out at 46. Within 18 laps, he pulled out over 22 seconds. He's got in, got pitted, come back out again, and Martinez still, who we think still may need to stop, So we're going to have to try and keep an eye and see how this one works out, whether or not Clermont's got to stop with 5 minutes remaining. They're only going to have about 3 laps left here, Zach. So this 2-hour race is coming to a rapid end, and it's got exciting right at the end here as well, because everybody's still spread out, but it is all revolving around who's got to pit, who hasn't got to pit, and where are they all over their fuel levels.
Yeah. Oh, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. It's an interesting one as well. 5 minutes left to go as well. We're on lap 65. I think I've underdone the lap count. We might go on to lap 68 or 69 in the end of this race. All depends on when Thompson crosses the line. Oh, it's tricky. I think Thompson obviously has got the win in the bag, but a couple of people still up for grabs. If they have to save fuel, mistakes still on the cards. We've got Barn, Beaver, and Dolman all separated by only a second and a half apiece. Plenty still to play for in the final 5 minutes of this race, and that's what I love about 2-hour races. They have everything of an endurance race and yet everything from a sprint race all wrapped into one.
I think that's the thing here as well. Give us your predictions in chat. Do you think Thompson has got enough? One man that has not got enough, and some may say karma comes to us all, maybe Dolman, and whether or not he has just made a mistake. He is out on the grass. The back end of that BMW goes around. But does he keep out of the wall? No. He also hits the wall. Does Marco Dolman on lap 65 for that SLM car. And Dimitrov did not. Dimitrov was too far away, I believe, to make most of that situation. But for Marcus Dolman now, for Dimitrov, is basically a long way back. And for Dolman here as well, I believe that is actually a Ferrari. And I don't think that is Dimitrov. I think that is more Ivanov. It is. Ivanov is behind him, so that Ivanov is a back marker. So Dolman did manage to hang on. 1.6 now to Hudson. And Hudson did get through when Dolman made the mistake. And he's got about 20 seconds back to Dimitrov.
So it's that dude, the Ferrari. I don't know. We're British, James. Let's cut ourselves some slack. It's our first round as well, right? We're allowed a bit of a pass when it comes to pronunciations, because for us, any British person on holiday, it's loud and it's slow. We're doing all right. We've done all right. We've only had a couple of trip ups in terms of the names, but yeah, Dimitrov in 8th and also in 12th. Again, I don't know if there's any relation, because they're both from different sides of Europe. So I doubt it. Probably just a little bit of a coinky-dink between the two of them. But, yeah,
Coinky-dink?
Coinky-dink, yeah.
What are you talking about? What's a coinky-dink?
Coinky-dink.
Oh dear. God help me. Thompson must have it, barring a big off, says Alan Toon, and Rio's still working on her livery. She's been trying her hardest all week, but she keeps putting on the JPB YouTube channel and completely getting distracted, and that livery is not actually working properly. Ria, if you need help with the livery, hit me up in Discord. I may have somebody who can give you a helping hand. Patrick Thompson's coming around the final corner. We are going to have 1 and 1 more. There is not going to be a white flag this time around. It's going to be 1 and 1 more. The penultimate lap here is kicking off, and now is it going to be kicking off with Dolman and Hudson as well?
Could well be. I would probably say it will be. Inside line for Dolman, chucked it to the inside of the Porsche. Hudson left on the outside, and that could invite, of course, the Ferrari in behind, which is not for position, but has allowed him through. I think so. He's going slow. There's nothing on the dash. We'll see if he comes into the pit lane. I think he's tried to stretch it, and it's not worked. He's gone again.
Why would you roll over and not defend in that way?
He's just got his belly tickled.
Why have your belly tickled?
Maybe he likes it.
Hold on, he's out. Isn't he?
He's lifting with like 300 meters left of the straight.
Is he trying to...
No, because these are back markers.
But he isn't.
He's only lost 1 place.
Yeah, he lost. Yeah, I get that. He lost a place to Dolman by being rolled over. But if he's got the pace to stay... I don't get that. I'm so confused at that one. Not quite sure why Hudson would roll over, be tickled, and Dolman go through. and then go very slowly. So there we go. Right, Patrick Thompson is coming over what will be the final lap of the race here. And we will should see no, we ain't. Barney's on a day off. Barney's gone missing. Final lap of the race here as well, and Barney's decided he's going to go on holiday, which is a little bit rude. I am so confused about this man. Maybe he can tell me after, but I don't get it. Ria said he must have damage. Must be fuel. It must be fuel, surely.
He's just gone into hypersaving, maybe. Look at that. He's not even out of second gear. But he's on the. He was close to the limiter there, which is using more fuel than just going up a gear. He's off the racing line. There isn't. He's coasting to the end of this race. I think he's hoping he gets lapped, but he's about to start the final race.
Put it in the pits.
Anyway. Here he is.
I don't get why he didn't do that last lap. Never mind.
Well,
confusing.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunate for him and a big plus for others. There's somebody going into the wall there. Playman Dimitrov has just gone and torpedoed into the wall here once more as well in that BMW. He looks like he's just may have got it a little bit wrong. That sausage curb's going to bite him. There we go. And Dimitrov into the sausage curb, which could be a reason why everybody's avoided it all day, young sir. And that's probably not the best way of flicking your front end up into the air there for Dimitrov. But we are on the final lap, and if I can pick up on Patrick Thompson, he is about a corner and a little bit away, and he's done a stellar job here, Zach, to be honest.
Yeah, he has one more corner left to go. Patrick Thompson for the first win of the season.
Patrick Thompson comes over the line there. He takes that victory here in Catalonia. Joshua Martinez comes through as well. One less pit stop, and McClelmont also with the less pit stop here as well. Them two, only two stopping. And here comes Aaron Beaver. Beaver's done a fabulous job and took that Mercedes here to the highest place Mercedes once more and takes fourth place. A great job from him. McClelmont in third, Beaver fourth. Barn had a moment coming on to, I believe, the lap 67, which was the final lap, and had a bit of a moment. Now, Marco Dolman comes over the line in sixth place with Yulian Dimitrov behind that. And there you go, there's the back marker also finishing as well. That was Shipley. And we just got to wait for Dimitrov. He comes around the final corner. Here he comes weaving. He's happy to complete the 2 hours. I'm sure he should be. I would be as well. Great job there from Dimitrov. And here's Tom Weston down one position, but he's finished the race. And that's all that Weston wanted to do. And he has done that. Ivanov is going to come over the line as well. So Ivanov comes over the line. Job done for him. And then behind that, we have got Hudson, who went and splashed and dashed as well. So there we go. Great job from all of these. And now we're just waiting for Darrell Russell, who I think from his own standards has had a bit of a rough one.
Stinker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easily done.
There we go.
But
over the line he goes. And here are the race results from the first ever Premier Endurance in the UK. 2 hours. Patrick Thompson is your winner. Joshua Martinez in second. Leif McClelmont in third. Aaron Beaver in fourth. Jerome Bairn in fifth. Marco Dolman sixth. Yulian Dimitrov in seventh. Tom Weston in eighth. Carl Hudson ninth. Alexander Shipley in 10th. Vasil Ivanov in 11th. Playman Dimitrov in 12th. Darrell Russell 13th. Jason Haddington 14th. And then we go down in... No, Jason Haddington didn't finish. Roger Morton, Stuart Gibbons, Owen Coleman also didn't finish there either. So, unfortunately, we lost a few drivers. But well done to everybody that's finished this race here. I think you got to admit, it was a good one, but it had its frills and spills with the fuel strategies.
it did. I think it added to it, of course. Made it more interesting for us in the commentary booth. Made it a little bit more confusing, potentially. You know, to sort of say, what, because we're trying to narrate it and actually sound like we know what we're talking about. But races like that, we don't. And we're just trying to blag it. And we're just like, Yeah, that's what's going through their head, and they'll be fine. Yeah, they're going to do X amount of laps on fuel. We didn't have a Scooby, and to be fair, I'm sure half the drivers out on the track didn't have a Scooby either, because that's what that race was like, right? We're being brutally honest. We had no idea what was going on, and again, for them, with how unpredictable that race was, you can't plan that. You can't practice that. You can't say for the first hour and a half of the race, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna practice what's gonna happen with the safety car. You don't think of those scenarios because you'd be there forever practicing every possible situation. There's an infinite amount of them. We got one very interesting one here today. You can't practice that. And that's what separates the good from the great, is being able to say, right, this has happened, what can I do? Boom, and getting it right. That is, the difference between doing 100 races and doing 10, right? That experience teaches you how to get those things done. Patrick Thompson, he didn't need a pit strategy. He just drove quicker than everyone else, and it worked for him. Surprisingly, it worked for him. It was the wrong formula, but it got him the right answer in the end of things. And, well, if it got him the right answer, it must have been the right formula anyway. So, yeah, successful start to the season. I'm sure I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did as well. Don't forget, guys, we've got more racing coming up for you as well for Monza on the 24th of September. Road Atlanta is in October, then Hockenheim in November, and Suzuka in December. Once a month, 5 races. Get yourselves involved. Discord down below. Come and join in. Get yourself into some epic racing. Don't forget, you can pay £5 every race if you want to and do it that way, or if you can pay for the rest of the season. But it'd be good to see you all on track here as well for what has been a very, very interesting race. But I think for now, for me and Zach, well, my brains are enough to try and work that one out. Alan Toon has lost all his teeth. His teeth is still shaking apparently after that curb incident there with Dimitrov. And Phil across the pond, thank you so much for seeing and joining us. Thank you to everybody that has joined us this evening as well. Ria, as always, much appreciated. Matthew Tatler on the way through, of course, and everybody else over at the JBB and the Premier Endurance YouTube channels. But for now, guys, I think that comes to an end. I've been James Parfitt alongside Zach Sweeney. So for now, you all take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.